seven, six, five, four, three, two, one.
Coming soon. Snake River Manufacturing is developing a revolutionary new way to design and build a custom kayak trailer. This modular design lets you customize your trailer one piece at a time, allowing you to grow as you go.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me for episode number 5 of the Kayak Cafe. This episode and every episode this year is going to be sponsored by Snake River Lockers, soon to be Snake River Manufacturing. They're coming out with a new design and a new website that's going to totally revolutionize the custom kayak trailer world. If you had a chance for episode 4, check out Forest Green from No Bad Days and give that a like. Very excited about this episode. This episode, I have a gentleman that I've spoke to quite a few times over the year, mostly through text and whatnot. So this is our first opportunity to do a face-to-face talk, as it were, online. He's a great individual who has a wonderful story to tell, and we're going to break off into that. It's Mr. Mike McKinstry. So let me bring him in. Hello, Mike. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I tell you what, I've been very excited about chatting with you because I feel like you and I have sort of like the similar stories. I'm not to where you are, but I feel like I'm climbing the same ladder you are. So I'm really
Absolutely.
excited to sit down and talk with you. So how have you been?
Doing good, man. It's been this is probably the busiest time of year for my business. So
Mhm.
it's been crazy. It's one of those things where like I get up, a lot of people, a lot of business owners do this.
Mhm.
You wake up and you just have no concept of time or what day it is, and you just work until like your body is like, hey, it's time to go to bed, and then you're like, okay, I'll work for 2 more hours, and then you pass out and get up and do the same thing. So I'm like in that mode right now. So it's been kind of hectic.
So are you like on the last episode, myself and Forrest were talking about we'll go to bed, and the minute you lay down, you're like, oh, there's 10 more things I have to do.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, when I go to bed, my girlfriend kind of, she's such a saint for dealing with me because I'm like, "Hey, let's go to bed at like 11 or midnight." I'm like, "Let's go to bed." And then we'll go to bed. She'll start to
Mhm.
fall asleep, and I'll be like, "Ah, hold on." And I'll get up and I'll go to my office and go
Oh
back to bed
yes.
at like 4 or 5 in the morning. And, a lot of times in the morning, she'll ask me, she goes, "Where were you all night?" I'm like, "Oh, I just did this real, like, I can't wait to show you what I did last night. Like, check this thing out."
Yeah, I've totally revamped websites overnight. You wake up and be like, wait till you see this. I'm like, do you ever
Yeah.
sleep? I'm like, maybe.
Yeah, I feel bad. I message people sometimes or email. I respond to emails at like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I'm always like, "Man, I hope they have notifications turned off." Like, it's just when I get the most done. I've always had this saying that when the world gets quiet, like, everything just kind of, like, zeroes in so I can focus, but during the daytime, my phone's going off like crazy. There's just, like,
Mhm.
errands to run. There's just, like, life is happening. There's just nonstop meetings, and then 7 or 8 o'clock, I'm like, "Okay, I can have dinner. I can, like, breathe a little bit." And then 11 or midnight, my brain just starts firing a million miles an hour, and I'm like, hold on, I can do all this stuff now, like, let me reorganize my office.
Yes, most definitely. Awesome. So on this podcast, I'd like to basically go through the steps of where you started to where you are, and a little bit of in between of basically what makes you you. So when you first started, um, what got you into the YouTube realm? Like, um, what led you to start making videos?
So that's a I get this question a lot, and I'm going to answer a little bit differently than normal, I think. So
Okay.
uh so probably 1996, 97ish. uh I started, my parents gave me their old video camera, and it was like the old, I still have it actually. It's like this big, but it had VHS tapes in it and like a microphone, a shotgun microphone attached to it. And it wasn't great. I mean, at the time it was like really high end. Like, I
Mhm.
couldn't believe my parents let me use it. And I used to record like skate videos. Like, I was big into rollerblading and skateboarding, and I record like me and my buddies doing dumb stuff, but it was such a big camera that like you couldn't really take it places. And it had, and I'm just guessing here, the battery life was probably about 40 minutes. I'm guessing it might have been worse. I don't know, but I mean, I remember it wasn't like a full day.
Hmm.
So I did that a lot, and I never did anything with it. I still have some of those tapes actually. I never did anything with them. So then going to high school, I switched schools from middle school to high school, and all my friends I grew up with were gone, and I only moved like 5 minutes away, but it was a totally different school district, and it was a
Hmm.
culture shock. It was completely opposite from what I grew up in, and very different type of people. So I went to a new high school where everybody had friends, everybody had their cliques. You know, I knew nobody, and I moved right before school started, so I had no idea like what to do. Totally different school, different area, different lifestyle. Like it was like moving to a different country for me. So going into school, middle school, I was in band, I was in every sport, everything. Going into high school, I didn't play any school sports my freshman year, like starting out because I was new and I didn't
Hmm.
know anybody, and I didn't want to join band because in middle school, band was like one of those things where all my buddies were in it, so it was okay. But in high school, I was like, I don't want to get picked on, I don't want to get beat up, like I don't want to join band, like I don't know anybody, like I don't have my group. So I was like, I gotta do something. So I joined video production class, and I was always really artistic, but I've never done video work as my family camcorder thing that I was doing.
Hmm.
And this was in the days, this was like 90, I want to say 98, 99. So these were the days where digital wasn't a thing yet. We were, I don't know if you're familiar with linear editing, but we had wheels that you put a
Hmm.
VHS tape on one side, a VHS tape on the other side, and you had wheels that moved the film in between each camera. And
Doing some splicing.
it was crazy. It was like our computers were massive, and I mean, I sound so old saying this, and there was like 2 monitors, and it was a crazy thing, and the effects, like, I have a lot of these tapes from my first years of video school, and the effects that they had for these, it was like the cheesiest, like, it was so embarrassing looking back at it. That's what we had. So I got into that, and I realized, like, I fell in love with the art of it. I've always been into art, and I've never used that medium. I've been into music my whole life, but
Hmm.
audio art is one thing, but video is like, it's like the most challenging medium in my opinion, because now you can see it. Like
Yes.
how it's like it's no longer for interpretation. You're showing the viewers what to look at. It's no longer in a book you can read it and your viewers can make up their own visions in their head. But in a movie, you're like, hey, this is what you're looking. There's like no imagination left. I'm giving it to you. So I loved that process. So right away I started doing short films in school. My student aide, I got super lucky. My student aide that year, he would come back and visit. He wasn't like a full-time student aide.
Hmm.
Was Dax Shepard, who's a really famous actor now. He was a member of the Huron Valley film group that I was in. He came back and visited. He was an intern at MTV at the time. That blew up his career after that. And he came in, and I was just like, we started doing skits, all of us, the whole group of us. And I was like, man, this is where it's at. Like, this is so much fun. Like, YouTube didn't exist. Like, there wasn't
Right.
anywhere to post these skits. Like, I have videotapes of us wearing like pickle costumes and playing tennis and like just stupid stuff. We reenacted the movie or the book of Mice and Men in my neighbor's barn. Like, we have these dumb things that we did, but it got me like, I fell in love with like the visual aspect of being able to tell a story and being able to share something that you thought was cool with other people. And it's, when I got a little bit older, it turned in from me having to invite friends over and watch a VHS tape. It turned into me being like, hey, I can share this. So fast forward a little bit. I'm trying not to make this a long version. Sorry.
Oh, you're
Uh,
good.
so fast forward a little bit. I stayed doing music, like pretty serious doing music. I toured
Hmm.
with a band for a while, and I've done music recordings. I have a music studio across from me over here on the other side of my room. I still record music constantly. So after 15 more years of experience of audio editing and new technology of audio and everything, I got back into video because I was like, hey, I need to start sharing my love for fishing. I started doing it, traveling the country, making videos, and my buddies laughed at me when I got rid of my bass boat, and they're like, "You got a toy kayak?" And I'm like, "No, it's not a toy. Like, these things are legit. Trust me." I'm like, I'll make a video and show it to you. Like, I'll show you the fish that I'm catching because nobody was with me. Like, I'll show you the video." So I bought these $20 knockoff cameras on Amazon. I made PVC pipe camera mounts as we all do in the beginning, duct taped the cameras to them,
Hmm.
press record and just film an entire day of fishing. And I posted it on YouTube. Started my second YouTube channel. My first one was me doing music, which luckily doesn't exist anymore. My second one was
It's out there somewhere.
if
It's
there
out
is,
there
I
somewhere.
will say there are some hidden videos of me doing some covers that I'm not proud of, but I refuse to delete them. But they're not really easily found. The channel doesn't exist anymore, but the videos I found them recently. But anyway, so bonus points if you find one of them. Just don't make fun of me. So I started a new channel and I was like, I just wanted to share. And these videos still exist on my YouTube channel. They're my first few videos I ever posted. Also super cheesy, way over edited, like way too many effects. It was a free editing software called Sony Vegas that I found. And I literally just thought it was cool to put effects on there. So I put every effect they offered on every video. It was terrible. And I was like, I swear I made it for my buddies because they made fun of me. I switched from bass boat tournaments to kayaks because I was sick of replacing my boat motors all the time. And I wanted to get back into a spot that I knew there was more fish, and I did, and I found more fish. So I wanted to share it with people. So I started making these videos. Well, what I didn't know, and you know, I know we're going to cover this a little bit later on here too, but what I didn't know is that nobody was making kayak content. I didn't even think that was a thing. Like, I didn't know fishing kayaks existed until I found one either. Like, nobody I know did it. So everyone I knew had bass boats. So I was like, you guys don't understand these kayaks you can stand up in. You can walk around in, like the places you get to go. Like, I drug it back in the woods a mile and found this pond, and I caught like 35 fish that I don't think I've ever seen a human. Like, I felt like Lewis and Clark. And I was like, this, I'm discovering new stuff. Like, there was beavers in the water that weren't scared. There was deer drinking water. Like, it was just one of the weirdest, like craziest, most amazing experiences in the kayak. So started making these videos, and the weird part was like nobody was doing it, so it just got attention. Like, I started having brands reach out to me. And I know I'm taking away some of your questions coming up here,
Oh,
but
you're good. You're
uh,
good.
I love sharing the story and throwing this guy under the bus. But there's a guy that works for Feel Free. Been there since, you know, since the first plastic kayak was invented, in my opinion. Like, the dude's like a fixture. He's been in whitewater kayaking forever. Like, the dude's amazing. His name's Denver. If anyone who knows Denver, he's like one of the most amazing people. This dude at the time ran the Feel Free team, and I'll never forget this. It was like, I shouldn't be bragging about this, but I still brag about it because I think it's cool. He reached out to me and said, hey, you know, my name's Denver from Feel Free, blah, blah. He goes, we either need to get you as part of our team somehow, or we need to tell you to stop doing what you're doing and leave us alone. Like, one of these two needs to happen. Like, we don't know who you are or where you came from, but you just came out of like a cannon and you're just doing all this stuff out of nowhere. Nobody's doing the stuff you're doing. We either needed to like distance from you or bring you on board, and we don't know what to do yet. We haven't figured you out. And I was like, all right, that's a challenge to me. Like, let me prove to you that you should bring me on board.
You're either with us or against us.
Exactly. It was like, but I get it because I have a really strong personality. Like, when I go into something, it's like 190%, like full speed. Like I don't know if it's like I have like severe like anxiety and OCD issues. So like when I focus on something, I hyper focus on something, and I don't do things halfway. Like, I just don't know how. So I was so strong on this where they're like, all right, we're gonna bring you on board. Just keep on doing what you're doing, making videos, and you know, if you love our products, keep talking about them and blah blah. And they gave me a discount on my next kayak, which I thought was at the time was like, why am I, that's awesome. Like, they give me like wholesale pricing on a kayak. Are you kidding me? Like, how cool is that? So then I had this weird thing where I was like, I'm going to keep making videos because if I can get a discount on a kayak, what else can I get? Like, I was like, if I can find a way to afford to make enough videos where I just don't have to pay for fishing. Cause like we all know as fishermen, fishing is one of the most, it's like, it's worse than gambling because like you don't always like you don't always get something back, but you're always putting in you're always depositing into the fishing bank, but you're not always making a withdrawal. But when you make one withdrawal, you're just like, all right, I'll spend 5 more years depositing. You know what I mean? It's just so weird. But I did it too. So I was like, if I can just find a way to make enough videos and keep on making more content and keep on just whatever I'm doing is working. And if people start making it so I don't got to pay for the stuff anymore, you know how cool that would be? Like, what if I get paid to travel one day? Like, I remember me and my ex-wife were just like, oh my God, we love traveling. Like, we love going to like estate sales and auctions all over the country. And I was like, how cool would it be if we could just get paid to go on these trips? Like, it was just amazing. So to answer your question, I could have done this in one sentence. I started doing videos in 2016 for kayak fishing, and it was just to show my buddies how cool it was because they didn't believe me. And it turned into like this crazy roller coaster of a monster that I'm still just, I'm in the front seat of this coaster still just being like, how did I get here? And hopefully I don't fall out. You know, it's just been an incredible ride.
Nice. So when you made your transition to doing videos online, I know that like support systems are huge. So when you were making the transition to being the next level YouTube guy, were you getting support from the fishing community, or were you having to struggle your way through to like? I'll give you mine. So like when I'm coming in, you get like the almost imposter syndrome of like, all right, I know I'm trying to do my best, but there's always someone out there who's not going to like what you're doing.
100%. Yeah.
Did you have that support, or did you have to battle your way through to say I'm a real boy?
Yeah. Both. And it never changes either.
Mhm,
It's a really, it became a very unhealthy thing at first, but it's a really healthy thing for motivation. You have to
mhm,
be a certain type of person to, like, if you look at a professional athlete, it's not just talent. It's you got to be a special, like, you have to have a very special mentality to overcome all of the crazy obstacles that you have to overcome to be a professional athlete or a musician, especially. I've been around
mhm,
professional musicians and athletes a lot of my life, and I've always been like, man, that dude's just built different. Like they're just like the way they handle things are just so different. Um, and I'm like 70% of that. Like I don't have it 100%. I don't. So it made it really tough in the beginning. So when I first started, I came out really strong. You know, like I came into this industry knowing nobody. I didn't know anybody that kayak fished. I didn't know what I was doing, but I had a 13-year career of marketing and promotional marketing and sales behind me, and I did professional mixed martial arts fighting. I did, you know, as a professional musician for a while. I toured. I did a bunch of stuff.
mm,
I'm used to that side of things, like turning my hobbies into businesses and working with sponsors and brands and promotions, and like that was my life, most of my life, doing something. It was always sales. I was always promoting. So when I came into this industry, what separated me from everybody else was that I had that sales and marketing mentality. I wasn't just trying to be a kayak fisherman. I was trying to be a brand. And of course, people didn't like that. Like I made,
right.
you know, I was super localized when I first started, obviously, like we all are. Like I was just in my community. Nobody knew who I was outside of my little area, my little bubble. And I made 2 or 3 solid enemies from the start because they, you know, they were in the industry for a while and weren't accomplishing their goals, or they weren't doing what they wanted to do, whatever it was. They weren't where they wanted to be, and they thought they were putting the work in and everything, but they were just one dimensional, and they just didn't see the growth, they didn't see the path.
Mhm,
And so when I came in out of nowhere and I'm getting paid right away, and you know, like I'm making videos, and you know, half of my living was coming from making YouTube videos for brands because I was doing so much content. And
mhm,
these brands were like, "Hey, can you make a promo video for my product?" Or, "Hey, we'll send you this for free plus $150, like make this video." And I was doing that from like the first 3 months. So people got really upset. People don't like when they see someone else climb a ladder that they're not willing to try to climb, because I'm not afraid to fall off of a ladder. I do it all the time, like
mhm,
constantly. Like if I didn't fail once a week, I probably would never learn anything, you know? So people are afraid to do that. I welcome it. I love failure. I love messing up. I love mistakes. I love learning from other people's mistakes, even. Like I love letting people learn from my mistakes, even. So like I love the process of learning. I love failure because to me, failure is motivation to succeed a second time. So, or
exactly.
20th time, whatever it is. So these people saw me not failing, but I was like, they saw me climbing. They didn't realize how many times I slipped and fell. So I
Right.
made, not only did I make enemies, but I had, for a good few years, I had some people, and I'm going to call them haters, even though I hate that term. I dislike that term strongly, I should say.
Negative
Uh,
motivators.
there you go. I like that better. Uh, I had some people that got so motivated to
Mhm,
be angry with me that didn't know me at all, that they were starting to make like fake profiles online to attack me. They were reaching out to these brands I was working with and just making up the weirdest things, just trying to get them to turn against me. They were turning other people in the community against me and making up rumors, and like the craziest stuff started happening. And I was like, wow, like, all right, like little do they know, like I came from an 11-year career in mixed martial arts where we didn't have social media then either. So if you talk trash to people, you would confront each other. Like I
mhm,
have really thick skin. So I'm like, the bad part was my anxiety, my OCD, my depression, all my stuff that started taking over. And part of that, so like a lot of the haters did get the best of me at first because I couldn't figure out why I had them. I couldn't figure out why I got their attention. I couldn't figure out what I was doing that made people so upset with what I was doing. I couldn't figure it out. And I let it beat me up for, I mean, there was a good like 6 to 8 month period where I was just like, it was like taking me over a little bit. And then something happened. And this sounds very this might sound a little bit strong or egotistical or something even, but I realized that what I was doing was up here and these people were trying to keep me down here. And once I like visualized that in my own head, I felt this like feeling of relief. Like I let them just live down here where they wanted me to be. Like I just let them live there. And I just started flying as high as I could and looked at it like, when you fly in a plane and you look down, you can't really see the little cars anymore. Once you fly high enough, you can't see it. And I also had this theory that I still live by to this day. That I tell people this when I do speeches in schools and stuff. Even people who want to cast darkness over you are very easy to fix. All you have to do is shine enough light where they can't exist. And it's a really weird motto, but it's 100% accurate. If you just stay who you are and you just keep on shining light on everything that you care about, I don't care how much shade you try to produce, you can't block the sun. You know what I mean? Like you get to a point where I still have people once in a while, like it's rare nowadays. Maybe I just don't hear it anymore, but it's rare that I have any negative people anymore. Besides like the random, like, I get like the PETA Facebook attackers once in a while about how fishing's cruel and all the stuff. And I'll get people that are, that I've never met or heard of that just say weird stuff. It's just, Facebook makes people really tough. So, and those people are fine. But I just keep on just showing my positivity. I keep on showing the stuff that I care about. I keep just blinding their darkness with light, and eventually there's no darkness. Like whether I don't hear it anymore or they just can't, there's only so many lies you can make up about people or how much hate you can give towards somebody that's doing the right thing before you just realize that you're the problem. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I've had some motivated people. I've had people that have made fake email accounts and emailed sponsors and made up, he's posting firearms on Facebook, you shouldn't work with him. Like I've had like, PETA activist people attack people and tell businesses that they shouldn't work with fishermen because they're cruel, and here's stats on how fish have feelings and all the stuff. I've like that happens.
Right.
In the beginning though, and I tell kids this in school and summer camps and stuff too. I let it get the best of me because I didn't realize what I had within me. Like I didn't realize that I had the strength. I didn't realize that these people weren't really mad at me. It wasn't really against me. It was against that I was doing something that they weren't willing to do or couldn't do successfully, or something that they failed at. They saw something that I was doing that they were, I don't want to say jealous, but they saw something in me that they wish they could do, and they could. It just they weren't willing.
Right.
But honestly though, anytime you do something right, you're gonna have people trying to make you feel like you're doing something wrong. It just when people climb ladders, you can either push them up the rungs and help them climb, or you can grab their ankles to pull them down because you don't want to climb either. And it's just how it works in any industry.
Yeah. For myself, I try to see where they're coming from. Is it like a place of love, or are they just someone who doesn't get it?
Yeah. And I do that too. When people are mean to me, that's another thing my girlfriend always tells me. She's like, I don't know how you do that. I'm like, when people are rude or mean to me, like at a restaurant or a store or anything like that, I'm more concerned of like, what's wrong? Like what happened?
Yeah.
Like, who are you mad at? Like, you're probably having a bad day. Like, are you okay? Like, I don't take things personally easily. Like like, I grew up a short, Jewish kid and got picked on my whole life. And, it just got to the point where like, I learned that it's not me, you know what I mean? Like people are projecting. That's what we do as humans. And people who don't have the strength to face their own issues project them on other people instead. So I'm more concerned about why people act that way, and maybe there's something I can do to help them. Like what's wrong in your life? Like maybe I can make it better. Maybe I can give you some advice. Maybe you just need someone to listen to your problems, or maybe you just need to be alone. There's a problem there and it's not me. And I think the biggest problem people have is they internalize other people's problems, and that shouldn't be a thing.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Can I say something? I meant to say something when we first started, by the way. I just want to do a really quick shout out, and I hope it's okay.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't seen this, by the way, make sure you guys go check this issue out. Was this issue number 3? This was me on the cover of the Kayak Fishing Magazine, the USA Kayak Fishing Magazine. But the reason why I want to shout this out isn't because I'm on this podcast with you necessarily. It's because the article that's in this that you wrote, I just talked about this with one of my sponsors today. It is the best article I've ever had written about anything I've ever done. Out of all the magazines and newspapers and anything I've done in my show, it was by far the best written article. It's the only article I've ever reread before. Like I don't reread any articles. It's like I don't rewatch my episodes. That article I actually have printed out. So I have this. And I've read it multiple times because it's so well written. And I highly suggest anybody listening to this, go check this out. It's an incredible issue. All of them are great, but this
I
one,
appreciate it.
I'm a little biased to that one.
A little partial to that one.
Yeah.
All right. So we have a midway section before we get into the second half where we're going to go into your latest season.
Yeah.
But,
Do we have a time limit here? Because I know I'm over talking a lot.
No, we're good.
Okay.
I try to keep it around an hour, but if we run over, we run over. It's not a problem.
I'll try to shorten my answer. I apologize.
No, you're good. I'm enjoying it. So we have a couple questions. Anybody that submits a question, they get entered in the monthly drawing for Kayak coffee giveaway. So
I'm drinking coffee right now, actually.
Yeah, every time I pick this up, I'm like, I want to grind this whole bag. Nicholas Beltran.
Oh yeah, Nick.
He says he's your buddy. He wants to know, how much do you miss your hashtag guy from your coffee podcast? He says, I don't know if.
Yeah, I used to have a. That's awesome, Nick. I've only met Nick a couple times here and there at iCast actually, because he's from Florida. Super nice guy though, and that's funny. So I had this podcast for years. I had couple hundred episodes. I forgot where I stopped it. It was it started out called Coffee with Bassquatch, and I started it out because I used to not sleep all night, and I would just be bored. And I'm a very social person, and I've worked from home for so long that like I need social outlets. So I'd go live on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. I forgot where I started it. And I would just do like a 7 a.m. morning, like just conversation, just so I had someone to talk to. And it turned into like a great podcast. I had a blast with it. We did hundreds of episodes, and we did big giveaways and cool stuff. And it turned into, we renamed it a bunch of times. And I forgot what the last couple names were now at the top of my head. But I missed that podcast. So Nick used to come on the podcast all the time and always hashtag everything, and super supportive guy and really cool dude. And yes, Nick, you are greatly missed. And I might start the podcast again soon. I want to start it up again because I have a new format idea. All the guests we film with are amazing, and we have so many great, amazing, diverse people on our show. Like this season alone, like it is mind blowing. Like if I made a list on paper, like just paper, which does not do anybody justice, it's you can't write down people's personalities, but if I made a list of like attributes of each person, you'd look at this list and be like, this is the craziest mix of people, like not just occupations, but just like who they are. Like it's just the craziest mix of people, but we all had the same amazing adventures and experiences and fun. And I want to start doing interviews with each guest that I have on the podcast and just talk about their experience on the show, what they thought of fishing for the first time, or if they fished before, maybe like just never out of a kayak, or like talked about how it was with me being in their world. Cause there's a lot of things we don't get to show on TV. Like we don't get to show a lot of the failures. Like we try to show bloopers and we cut out bloopers and stuff like that. But there's like, I don't think people realize this. There's like an hour or more of blooper reels, and we can't air that. We can't show it. We show like 15 seconds of bloopers here and there. I can't even post an hour-long video of bloopers, just bloopers on YouTube. It would just be terrible. But we have so much fun on our show, and I want to share that. So we might be doing the podcast again. I just haven't had time. I still have my studio set up, my mixing boards, all my audio stuff. I just don't do it. But that's awesome. But yeah, Nick, you're greatly missed.
He also wants to know, when would you be visiting the Everglades to catch rare species of fish?
Peacock bass is my goal. And every time I go to Florida, I'm like, Nick, I got to meet up with you. That dude is like a heck of a hammer with peacock bass. And it's going to happen, Nick. It's going to happen. I just don't know when. I was going to do it this year for iCast, but I'm already trying to like, we're filming our first international episode this year. And
nice.
Right before, it looks like we haven't set the date. It looks like it's gonna be right before iCast, and it's gonna change my entire schedule because we're gonna be on a plane for like 24 hours and just one way. So like it's gonna be a heck of a trip, and then we have iCast right after. So I don't think I'm gonna extend my trip to iCast once again, like I would say I want to, but I got to do peacock bass. There's two species that I haven't done that are so accessible. They're not even that far from me. I mean, I'm in Michigan, but I don't have peacock bass here, obviously, and we don't have snakehead here. And those are two species I've never caught. We might be doing snakehead in our international trip actually, but never seen one. We do bowfin and dogfish up here, which are similar, but not
Hmm.
nearly as aggressive or big. So yeah, it's on the list, Nick. I promise it's gonna happen. Even if it's not on camera, I need to catch my first peacock.
All right, this one's from Steve Burge. I think this is a good one. In your journey, if you could change one thing to make it easier on your future self, what would it have been? Steve's getting deep.
Woo! And here I am trying to tell myself to quit over talking, and that's one heck of a so man, I don't even know where to start. There's so much. If it's so weird. I just had this conversation. This future guest on our show I was talking to. We had a meeting with a guest like a week or two ago,
Mhm.
and we were talking about our backgrounds and our histories and where we've been. And this guy was like a CEO of like this huge, massive companies and business, like this crazy stuff. And he took a step down to do what he's doing now and build it up. And we had this talk about like, yeah, I did this and this, blah blah. And I was like, if I could have went back and done what I'm doing now and started in my 20s, like where would I be now? And out of that conversation, this is probably the best way to answer this question. Out of that conversation, I think I realized I don't wish that actually anymore. I don't wish I can go back and start earlier because YouTube wasn't out yet and
Mhm.
kayak fishing was in its infancy when I started this in like 2015. There was 2 registered kayak anglers in Michigan for KBF when I first started. When I stopped doing tournaments, there was about 1,000. You know,
Mm.
it blew up right when I started. But I will say there's 3 things. I'll pick 3 things. The first 3 things that come to mind. If I could go back and change anything, I wouldn't have let the negativity bother me as much in the beginning. It ruined who I was. It slowed down my progress so much. It made me
Mhm.
stronger, and it made me wanna show it wanted me to show the negative Nancy's that what I was doing was right a little bit more. It motivated me a little bit more to, like, prove them wrong, I guess, too. But I also wish I wouldn't have taken it so personally because there was times like, you know, and I don't ever, how do I say this? So I'm very transparent. So even when I used to do my
Mhm.
podcast, like I used to get pretty emotional on my podcast. I'm a very, very open person. Um, but I battled depression most of my life, like bad. And it's gotten the best of me quite a few times. When I started this career, I let I let a lot of the negativity take over to the point where I was more worried about what people thought of me than I was about what I thought of myself, and that's a
Mhm.
really slippery slope and a really dangerous thing when you start focusing on what people say about you instead of how you look in the mirror, because I no longer cared about what I thought about myself. I believed everything else, and I started getting really hyper focused. And like when I would see like an attack post made about me, and there's a very specific kayak group that is pretty negative group, and someone would make a negative post about me in that group, and I would start shaking. Like I would see it pop up and I would just be like, it would like take me over. And it ended up putting me in this downward spiral. And, I went through a terrible divorce and I did all this stuff around the same time. And it just, there was times where I wouldn't leave my house for a week. Like it got, I'm not going to lie. Like I don't want the haters to know that they won a little bit, but there was a good week or 2 period that it was bad. Going
Yeah.
backwards, I wish I didn't let that take over. That slowed me down a lot. It took a lot of the wind out of my sail. Um, that's the first thing. Second thing I would have done is I would have started delegating more of my work. I was really protective of my work for the first 4 or 5 years.
Mhm.
I edited my own show. I did every full-time job that this business requires, I did myself. And I used to set up tripods on the shoreline and duct tape cameras to trees, and I would just film myself. And I would have like friends film me, and I'd have interns film me. And I wish I didn't do that. I got really, really like protective. And when I started hiring people and taking a step back and letting people that are way better than me at these things be more creative and have more control, if I would have done that earlier, it would have definitely made my career a lot easier. Um, Now it's like we have 11 people in our crew and I can't wait to
Mhm.
hire more. Like I can't wait to delegate more. I'm still doing 6 full-time jobs. Like I can't wait. I just hired another person the other day actually. That's taken one of the biggest jobs away from me so I can focus on more important stuff. So uh, that's another thing. Delegate. Like trust people to be better than you at things. Like it's one of the smartest things people can do in business is always, it's not doing everything the best, it's finding the people that can do it the best. So that's the second thing. The third thing, if I had only pick 3, third thing in no particular order, if I can go back and change something, I would have also, um, and this is another slippery slope issue too, but I would have started doing content that I wanted to do in the beginning instead of what I thought people wanted to see in the beginning.
Mm.
One of the smartest things that I heard a filmmaker say this not too long ago in an interview. he said, or no, it wasn't a filmmaker. This is Rick Rubin. He was in a studio. He's the producer for like Metallica and a bunch of big people. He said that his biggest trick, he's not a very talented guy in a lot of ways. A lot of people, discredit this guy, but his most genius thing about him is that he says he doesn't make music for people. He makes it for himself. He does what he thinks sounds the best, and people just happen to agree with him. He's like, I don't know why people like my music or what I do. People just agree with my opinion because I do it for me. I don't do anything I think people are going to like. I don't do anything for mainstream sound. I don't do anything for what I think is the catchiest. He's like, I just make it the way I want to hear it. And I just happen to have, the same opinion a lot of people do. And when I started out, I was making content that I thought would be catchy. And I was like, oh, I'll get a lot of views if I do this. Like, I'm going to get a flamethrower out and melt a bunch of kayaks, which I did that video. It's still on my YouTube channel. Never deleted one video in my life, even the ones I'm not proud of. And I was like, people are going to click the crap out of this. I'm going to burn a bunch of kayaks with a flamethrower, and this will get 1,000 views a day. And it didn't. But I used to do videos like that, and I'm so against that. I've never done clickbait titles before. I hate that. So if I can go back, that's probably the number one thing, honestly, is that I would have started doing content from the start that I just felt passionate about instead of what I thought other people would be passionate about. It all circles back to that first thing I said, though, where won't focus on what other people think. Just focus on how you think about yourself. Be proud of what you're doing, and people will know. Like, you can ask Nick or anybody who's seen my podcast in the past, which they're all also still there, all on Facebook Lives or YouTube Live. They're all still, every episode I've ever done on my podcast. There's ones that I was broken down crying about my depression on like live videos. Like they're all still there. If you watch any of those, you'll see that like if I wasn't passionate about it, I didn't share it. And I got very personal about things, and I would always talk about things that really mattered to me. And, it was never clickbaity. It was never anything. And that was the point of it. And looking back, I just wish I would have done more of that from the start and just let people see who I really was. Cause that's what really mattered. And that's when my career took off, is when I started just being
yourself.
And there was a mentor I had in the beginning, and I won't mention his name. There's a mentor I had in the very beginning. And that was the smartest thing I ever did with my career, by the way, is I got around the top 3 people in the industry at the time. And that was Robert Field, Chad Hoover, and Gene Jensen. And I got around those 3 people right away from the start. And I told all 3 of them the same thing. I'm like, I want to learn everything I can from you, the good and the bad. I want to see what I don't like about you or your work, not you personally, but like your work. And I want to see what you failed on. I want to see what you aren't doing correct, but I want to see what you've done correctly. Not because I'm going to copy anything you guys are doing, but I want to learn as much as I can. I love learning. So I got around these people, and one of the guys that I was mentoring with, I shouldn't have mentioned any of their names because now it's down to 3 of them, but one of the guys I was working with, when I learned who they were, it's like you never meet your heroes kind of thing. I was very like taken aback, where I was like, wow, this person isn't like, I thought they were like up here on this like almighty level, and like, it's a very flawed individual here, and I don't want to be associated with them anymore. Like, this is a bad decision to hitch my wagon to, because this person doesn't have the integrity that I have. We don't have the same beliefs or the morals, or we're not going in the same direction. And I don't think it's a good idea. And I had to like detach. And I think that was a very pivotal point for my career, because that's what made me realize the path I wanted. Like, it's kind of like when you grow up with an abusive, parent. Like, if your father's an abusive alcoholic, then you have 2 choices. You either become an abusive alcoholic, or you become a victim, or you become the opposite and learn what not to do. And you don't drink, and you become a very like anti-violent person. And, you can go one way or the other. Same thing that I did, where I was like, I can either follow this footstep and I might turn into that, or I do the exact opposite and try to make sure that I'm the opposite of all these problems. And that's what I did. So that was a very big pivotal point for sure.
Nice.
Sorry for the long answer.
No, it's great.
We gotta do like a 5-hour episode here. I'm sorry.
Yeah. We're locking through here. So this is from Paul Lopes.
Oh, Paul.
Paul said he's been following you since the beginning. He's really happy for you, and you took your dream and turned it into reality. His question is, what advice would you give a regular weekend angler to achieve this?
To achieve like this, to achieve like, man, that is like a very vague question there. So first thing, Paul, thank you for the question, and also for all your support. he's always been on all my comments, and he's always been a very big supporter and everything. And you know, literally since day one, I don't remember a time where he wasn't in like comments on stuff too. So thank you for all the support online and stuff, Paul. But I guess my best advice would be, and it's another thing I use a lot of times in my speeches at schools and seminars and stuff, is find your path. Like, don't follow people's footsteps. Create your own footsteps. Don't follow someone else's path. Pave your own path. Be the first one to do you, because that way you're gonna be authentic. People will buy into you as a person, no matter what you're selling, no matter what it is. And you can see that in everyday industries, no matter what it is. If you hate the spokesperson, the product doesn't matter. If you love the spokesperson, the product doesn't matter. Like, look at these celebrities that have like alcohol beverages or colognes or like, you know, all this stuff. Like, it could be garbage, but you're supporting the person, not the product. And it's the
Right.
same thing when you're your own brand. You're the most expensive product you'll ever own in your life, because if you damage that product, there's no fixing it. And if you damage your integrity or your vision, even, like, you'll never recover. So from the start, whether you're a weekend angler, your first time fishing, or you're a seasoned angler and you want to turn it into something, find your own path, your own footsteps, pave your own way, be the first you could possibly be, and take that brand so seriously from the start. You know, they say every person in the world who wants to be a president, you know, there's like the ultimate job supposedly in the world. You have to start preparing to be a president like when you're like 12 years old. Like, every decision you make in your life from 12 years old until you're 35 and you're eligible to be a president, it will be under a microscope the day that you want to be a president. So you have to start living your life as if you are the president when you're 12 years old, which is insane to me. It's a job I would never wish upon my worst enemy. I can imagine, like, no matter who you are, people are going to hate you. Like, millions of people are going to hate you, no matter who you are, how good you are. So that's because when you're like a president or you're like a leader, you're a big image. Even if you're a professional musician or you're a celebrity, it's no longer about what you do, it's who you are that matters. So start from the very beginning. The minute you decide that you want to be a brand, you have to start acting like it from the start. You have to realize that every skeleton, every negative thing you do or say is going to stick with you and tarnish you and be a stain. So, best advice in one sentence: be you from the start. Don't try to be anybody else. Don't copy anybody else. Don't repeat the same thing someone else is doing. Be the first you could possibly be, and just stick with it.
Awesome. All right. So now we're going to transition over to the Bassquatch Hunter and how it took you to where you are now with the fish out of water. So I've always wondered this. So your YouTube career, you know, you were in front of the camera, editing and all that. What was your first day like when you were in front of a production crew? Was it the same old, or was it like,
So I used to host a thing called the Kayak Angler Games, which I'm going to be bringing back here soon. It was like a skills competition for kayaks, and we'd go out and do races, and we'd have like these foam rings you had to pick up, and it was really great. Anyone who's been to it, like, there's videos of it on YouTube. One of the coolest events. It was just so tough to do. It was so hard to manage, but it was so much fun. There was a local news crew that came to cover it one year, and this is before I did the show, but I was doing YouTube videos, but I wasn't like on a network or anything yet. And there was a TV crew that came out. I forgot what news station it was even. They came out and they're like, "Hey, we want to interview you about this event." I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm great on camera, so just turn it on. We'll be fine." That camera turned on, and I realized within 4 seconds that this is the first time someone's held a camera and pointed it at me since high school video class. And I have that tape from video class, and I was looking down the entire time, and I was like, one day I want to be on TV, and it would be cool. Like, it was terrible. It was embarrassing. Like, looking back at it, I turned into my 13-year-old self as soon as that camera turned on, and I froze. And I remember, I'll never forget it because it motivates me every time I get nervous. I refer back to my mental state in that moment where I was confident. They turned the camera on, and then I was like, wait, there's 3 camera people and a reporter staring at me. And I'm like, and I froze for a second, and then I was like, I got this, just push through it. Like, I got this. And I started talking, and I mumbled every word. I stuttered. I said things when I was done. I was like, what did I say that for? Like, that makes no sense. Like, what does that even mean? Like, it was the worst interview. I've never done another one that bad in my life.
Mhm.
And that was my moment where I was like, all right, this is where people give up because it gets tough, it gets scary, and people are like, well, I can't do that again. And instead, I started practicing to the point where I set up my camera in my house and in this room, actually. I set up my camera on a tripod and I would just have conversations. And this is, I don't think I've ever even talked about this publicly. I would name my camera like different things all the time, like Tabitha or, Ben or whatever. And I would be like, so Ben, how you doing? Oh yeah, and I'd have like an imaginary conversation and I'd watch it back. And the reason why I did that is because I did a live video one time and a good friend of mine, Tom, made a comment on it. Another thing I'll never forget, it's like 7 years ago. He said, you said the word 34 times in a 3-minute video. And I'll never forget that comment because I started going back in all my videos and I'm like, don't say close your mouth when you say just go and then I stopped doing that even. And I started taking a breath instead. And so I started recording myself just talking about random topics or reading something I was reading, or just so I could learn my speech patterns and learn to like look at a camera as like, you know, an audience. I can talk in public fine, just couldn't talk to a camera. It was the weirdest thing. It's like when I used to play music like out at shows, if there was
Mhm.
5 people in the crowd, I couldn't play. I'd freak out. If there was 5,000 people, I would run that stage like it was crazy. Like I was full, like I fed off the energy. It was so great. If I had a mixed martial arts fight or something where there was like 30 people there, or we had a seminar for mixed martial arts, I would freeze. I was so nervous. I would make eye contact with people and it would freak me out. If there was 50,000 people there, I would be playing to the crowd. I was like having a blast. So with a camera, I was like, this is one person. I started thinking
Mhm.
about the camera as a million people. I started looking at it as if I was talking to a crowd and I got excited. Then the camera started amping me up and it became a process. I still do to this day. People don't believe me when they see me on camera, even in person. They're like, man, that was so good. You handled it like a pro. And I'm like, I am sweating so bad right now. Like, you have no, I get nervous all the time. Like I still like, and it keeps me going. Like, I love that I get nervous. I love the fear. I'm doing a big seminar this weekend that I've never done before. And I've done seminars for 7 years. I do them all the time. I'm doing a new topic and a new crowd and in a new place I've never done before. And I love how nervous I am because it's
Mhm.
going to make me really focus. It's going to challenge me. So if I do bad, I'll be like, oh, all right, I got to do it better. But if I do good, I'm going to be like, oh, I'm going to be on the biggest high in the world. So the camera jitters are real. I got scared when I first started getting filmed, but I found tricks, I found tips. I don't give up on things, so I found ways to push through it. Now the camera's my friend. I love being on camera now because it's an opportunity just to like share something and reach people. And as you can tell, I have no problem talking.
Right.
So I love when that camera turns on now because now I just get to I get to open up. It's an excuse to talk to a huge room of people at one time. It's an amazing feeling.
Yeah. I have a photo studio. My business partner, I was telling him I was doing a podcast, and just before I was about to go live, maybe 3 hours before, he's like, "Okay, let's role play." And I was like, "What? What?" He's like, "Yeah, give me the intro." And I'm like, "Uh, I'm just gonna wing it." He's like, "You want to do that?" I'm like, "Maybe I don't. I don't know." Yeah.
Do you
So
ever write like because you're a really good writer too? Do you ever write stuff before you say it, or do you always wing like when you're talking?
so when I'm doing this, I just wing it. I'd like to,
Yeah, well, this
for
is more
the most part,
conversational, but
like the
if you
intro.
if you did like an intro or like a speech or something like that, would you write it first, or like
I
you the
would
type of
probably
person?
write it first. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I
So
would write it.
I'm the opposite. If I write a speech, I've only done it a few times where I've written a speech. Like
Mhm.
I've done a few award stuff where I've had to like accept an award in front of like the whole town or something, or in front of like a group of people or at an event. And I've wrote one speech one time and I was reading it and it was for uh oh, it's for the I think it was for the community service award for the DARA group from the like the United States Daughters of the Revolution thing.
Mhm.
And I wrote a speech first because I was nervous. It was in front of like a lot of very distinguished people. It was a very like, I don't want to say uppity, but like a very high scale crowd. So I wrote a speech. I read the first like half and I was so uncomfortable and I just realized my tone was weird. Like I was obviously reading and I got so weirded out that I just halfway through, I just started winging it again. And I was like, yep, never do that again. That was a mistake. I've always winged every speech I've ever done, every seminar. Like the one I'm doing this weekend that I'm nervous about, I'm not going to make any notes first. I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to go up there and just start talking. And it always works out better for me. Even on camera, my producer's always like, hey, do you want to say that again? I'm like, nope, first take. Like I one take almost everything. Um, our show is probably the most reality show you could possibly get. Like we don't film things twice. Like
Mhm.
we don't edit things out and like fake them. The only thing we edit out is if it's too much content, we cut it down. And if someone swears, we edit it out, or someone flubs their words, we edit it out. But
hmm
like we don't record fishing twice even. So like if we catch no fish, we air it. If we catch 3 fish, we air it. We catch small fish or whatever, we air whatever happens because we want you to feel like you're actually there, like your first experience. We don't fake it. We also don't practice first. Like my guests don't get to learn how to hold a fishing pole until the camera turns on. They don't get to try casting, practicing, or anything until we film it. Even if it doesn't make the show, we film all of it. And it's all the real thing. When I go in their world, if it's figure skating or if it's being a fireman or driving a monster truck, I don't let myself try anything first or see what it's like or tell me what we're going to do first. I don't do that. I'm like, tell me what we're doing once the cameras are on, because if I'm going to be shocked or scared or nervous, I want that to be real. Like, I'm not going to fake anything. So everything's got to be done in one take. So I don't write it down. I don't fake it. We don't coach people what to say. We have a lot of non-media trained guests who are super nervous and they want to know questions in advance sometimes. And I'm like, nope, we're just going to go talk. Like, there's no questions. Like, we're just going to do what we're doing right now. We're just going to talk. We're just going to have a conversation. Who knows where it's going to go? Who knows what we're going to end up talking about? We might get emotional. We might get personal. Who knows? Like, we're just going to go fishing and just talk the entire time and just see what happens. And we'll have fun in your world. But in my world, we're going to talk. And I think it's the best way to do things. I can't write speeches. I'm a pretty decent writer and I love writing stuff, but man, when it comes to talking, if I write it down first, it won't be real. It won't be authentic and it won't be nearly like as personal,
I will say whatever I write, like if I do like an ad or ad copy, it never is what's written down. It always deviates. So, all right, let's get into this season of your show. What can someone expect this year?
Man, this season's crazy. Like this season is, I hate saying the phrase like this is our best one yet because it's like everyone says that, but it's like it's true. Every season we've grown. I mean, our growth trajectory has been absolutely insane. Like going from YouTube to streaming to cable to Discovery Channel to 4 Emmy nominations. We're the first kayak fishing show in history to have Emmy nominations. We got 4, we got
Congratulations, by
3
the way.
last year. Thank you, man. We got 3 alone last year. Like my crew is so amazing. Like it's just what we built is just insane. So this year, like when I say it's our best year yet, it's not because we have the best guests every year, because every guest we have, I think, is great in their own ways. Like there isn't like I hate when people ask me my favorite guest or like my best experience because it's different every time. Because I'm like, there's so many great things about everybody. Like there's so many amazing people. But this year, like I am blown. Like when I go back, I have a list of our episodes here that for our editing because we're right now we're in full time. We have I think we have 5 people that are in our editing team, 6 people in our editing team now, and they're all full force editing like crazy right now, like just everything. So I have this list right here. So because every day we go through progress reports and editing drafts and all this crap. I'm going to read this list. And I don't know if I don't think I've ever published this or anything publicly. So most people probably don't know what we filmed yet, but this list is the most diverse, ridiculous, crazy. I can't believe what we've done this year. The first episode is Canine Police episode. We went to Ohio, filmed with a canine police officer. The guy's 6'7", 300 pounds, like an absolute unit. Like this dude's a beast. And his dog attacked me in a bite suit. And it was the scariest thing I probably have done in the show because I saw a fur missile launch at me full speed with his mouth wide open. And I just prayed it didn't miss the suit and get my face or my hands or
Is it a Malinois?
it was a Malinois. And I got bruises all over my arm from it was serious. Like it was like, and if I would have went down, if I would have tripped or fell, or the bite suit was way too big on me. So like if I would have tripped over it and fell, like that dog could have grabbed my neck or my face. And it doesn't take long for them to do enough damage where telling it to stop wouldn't be quick enough. So it was terrifying. But that episode was so amazing. And the cool twist of that episode, I met this guy because his 5-year-old, he turned 6 this week. Actually, maybe it's tomorrow. He turned 6 this week. His son is like one of my biggest fans. They watch my show as a family constantly for the last year or so. They drove up from Ohio to come see me at Detroit Fishing Show last year and meet me for the first time in public. I gave him a free hat, like talked to this kid forever, sent him a big birthday gift in the mail 2 weeks later, like all these stuff for like my children's books and fishing stuff. So me and this kid talk all the time, and me and his dad talk all the time. I found out he's a police officer. So we did an episode together, but the kid got to come with us. We tied a little kayak up to my kayak and he got to fish with us. He caught a big smallmouth. Like he was one of like the co-guests, I guess. So that episode is super special. Second episode, Texas A&M University farming technology. Like we we're the first people to televise this technology. It's world changing technology that saves farmers from using 80 to 90% of the pesticides they use. It saves 80 to 90% of their pesticide usage. So it stops groundwater contamination, air contamination, food contamination, which is super personal to me because I have celiac disease, which is linked back to pesticides. Amazing company and technology. And we filmed a full episode at Texas A&M University with their scientists and these crazy like people who have like multiple master's degrees in scientific biology, all this crazy stuff. Guys are so above my level of intelligence. And we get to film this technology and I got to drive a big tractor and like it was so cool. That's episode 2. Episode 3 is the Detroit Zoo. We got to film with giraffes this year. I got to take care of them. Got to, inspect them, their heads and touch them and feed them and do all this cool stuff and go through the process of being a zookeeper for the day. I got to clean up all their droppings and everything in their habitat for a day.
Wow.
Got to work with giraffes. Last year I got to work with penguins and I got to do giraffes this year. The next one is a bus driver, which is one of the coolest episodes because who would think a bus driver episode would be exciting? But we worked with one of the coolest people I've ever met. I learned how to drive a school bus, but we also threw a big appreciation party for 250 bus drivers at the Toledo Public School System in Ohio. And through this big party, it was catered and all this cool stuff to show our appreciation for 250 bus drivers and employees. We donated a big check to the bus driver we filmed with to thank her for her service and all the work she does. It was one of the coolest episodes. She caught her first fish ever, and her reaction was a 13 out of 10. It was absolutely everyone on the lake heard her catch her first fish. It was so crazy. That was episode 4. Episode 5 is an LPGA golfer legend, a professional female golfer, 8 championships, just a legend in the tour. Got to learn how to golf a little bit better. Embarrassed myself really bad too. Next one is Major League Baseball with the Atlanta Braves. We got to go take over the entire park to ourselves for a day. I got to throw pitches from the mound. I got to hit 85 mile an hour fastballs into the outfield. I hit over 100 baseballs that day. Crazy stuff, like mind-blowing experience to get to be in that park, on the field, on the grass. We had all to ourselves, free reign for everything. Like the Atlanta Braves were amazing. We did I'm trying to run through these quickly. Sorry.
You're good.
We did Oakland County executive. So, which is a political position, a public appointed position. Couldn't be a more different person than I am. Never been in the outdoors, super not outdoorsy guy, the most opposite of outdoorsy guy. Also one of the coolest people I've ever met. He was so open to everything. He wanted to try everything new. He wanted to do everything he's never done before. It was so much fun. And then we went to the county, this beautiful, brand new, huge county animal shelter, and got to play with some dogs and go through all their facilities and how cool it was what they do there, and like highlight what the county does for funding to get this animal shelter set up. And it was just a beautiful episode. The next one, we did a kids event that I love doing, one of my book readings and kids of fishing events. I work with about 3,000 kids a summer, teaching them how to fish every year. Like my summer is just nonstop kids events too, on top of filming and everything else. And we went to one of our kids events, and with the worm company I work with DMF Worms, we showed off the factory in last season's episode about how worms are, processed, and millions of worms a day are processed and everything. This year we went fishing, caught some of the biggest fish we've ever caught in the show, actually huge monstrous bass all day. And then went to one of my kids events, did a book reading, taught a bunch of kids how to catch their first fish too. It was a blast. Then we had NHL episode. So we had the number 1 goalie in the NHL, which I play goalie in hockey for 37 years. I've been playing hockey. Hockey is one of my biggest passions. I play at least once a week. I coach 12-year-old travel hockey as well. I'm a goalie coach for kids. I got to work with the number 1 goalie for the last 3 years. He's won the Vezina Trophy, All-Star, like best goalie in the league for 3 years in a row. Dude's super cool. Got to play goalie with him, with some Detroit Red Wings players shooting on us and a Los Angeles Kings player shooting on us. One of the best, craziest moments of my life. Then we had a bison farm in Indiana. We got to go visit 100 and something bison and feed them by hand. And I got to bottle feed a baby bison, which was crazy. Got to be around 2,000 pound animals, like eye level with them, with like no protection, just like hanging out. Got to eat bison for lunch. Like coolest dude. Met this dude at a fishing show in Indiana and started talking, and the dude told me he owned a bison farm, and I was like, haha, wait, what'd you say? Like, you say like people have bison farms? We talked for like an hour. He's never kayak fished before. He saw my seminar on kayaks. He went online and bought 2 of the same kayak I have for him and his wife, and never used them. he didn't use them yet, and until we filmed. So his first time in a kayak was with me on camera. Got to be around bison, and then the last episode is the largest dog rescue in the country, almost in the world, in the country. 253 rescued rescues. And we're filming that one actually in a month. We haven't filmed that one yet. So the season's nuts. Like, it's just like the most over the top episodes and like the biggest guests we've ever had, like NHL, MLB, LPGA, bison farms, county executives. I mean, just like, Texas A&M University. It's just like the craziest. Like, I can't believe it. I have a bookshelf over here with memorabilia from the show. When I do episodes, like I have autographed hockey pucks, baseballs, golf balls, autographed monster trucks and stuff from the guests, like a bunch of stuff memorabilia. When I look at that shelf every day when I'm in here working and see the stuff just from this season, like the signed baseball and the hockey puck and the golf ball and the giraffe thing I have over here, like all this cool stuff, I'm just like, we got to do all that. Like, holy crap. And that was one season. Like, that's just like,
Steve wants to know if you ever sleep.
oh, I don't. Like, you see how hyper I am right now? This is literally like, I can get Madison in here. She'll attest to you. I don't shut up. I don't stop moving. I pace while I'm on the phone all day, and I spend a lot of time on the phones all day and on Zoom calls and meetings. And I walk an average of probably like 5,000 steps a day without leaving my house. I'm going to check what it is at right now, just so I can be a little more accurate with it. It's usually kind of comical how many miles I walk in a day without leaving my house. Today is not that bad, actually. Today was, that wasn't steps. Hold on. 5,185. That's pretty average. I said 5,000. So I walked 2.7 miles in my house today. I haven't left my house all day today. So
nice.
No, I don't get to.
So where you are now with the things you've done this year, are you at a point where you just look at the wall and go, all right, I want to fly a jet, or I want to be a skydiver?
Absolutely.
You're like throwing out the bucket list of things you want to do and go from there.
Yeah. So I make dream lists every year. So right now I'm planning for 2026 episodes already.
Mm-hmm.
And I have an idea list right here, and the list, these aren't things we're doing. These are just things that I'm like considering. We do 12 episodes a year.
Mm-hmm.
The 12th one is usually a greatest hits compilation of all my favorite moments and all the cool stuff. So we do 11 unique episodes a year usually. So I usually write about 20 ideas, if not more, because sometimes I can't, they're not feasible. Like one of them on here is Coast Guard rescue. I don't know if we'll even be allowed to do, like, I don't know if we can even make that happen, but I want to repel from a helicopter and go into the water on a Coast Guard helicopter. We have Lake St. Clair here in Michigan, and there's a Coast Guard base right there, and they do nonstop rescue trainings all the time in helicopters. And I'm scared to death of heights, but that makes it fun for me in a way, because it's like, I'm so afraid to do it that I think it'd be incredible to do. Like, because if I accomplish it, I'll feel pretty darn proud. Repelling from a helicopter, I don't know how high up. Like, maybe someone listening knows the answer to that. How high up you have to be above the water. But I know it's a lot higher than you probably think. I want to do that. So that's on my list is Coast Guard helicopter repelling. I just want to repel from a helicopter. I have
or be like the rescue swimmer and just jump out.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I've seen the movie The Guardian with Kevin Costner and Ashton Kutcher, and that movie scared the crap out of me. I have a weird fear of a lot of things, actually, but heights is one of them, and like drowning is another one. So those
I would
two
probably land on a shark. That would be
yeah.
Like, I made it.
Another one we might actually do. I've actually been in talks with a few people. Some of the best award-winning taxidermists in the country. I want to do a fish replica. I have some fish replicas that I've had done for me. I want to see the process of doing a fiberglass replica of a fish. I just think it'd be kind of cool to see, not just like a replica, but like some of these guys do acrylic mounts that look like water splashing out of a table. And they like, there's some amazing artistry at these. Like, it's not even a taxidermist, it's an artist. So that's on my list. I'm trying to do a guitar factory, like Gibson or Fender, like maybe a smaller one even. I'm not really sure. I've played guitar almost my I play 9 instruments. Guitar has been one of them since I was like 9. So a guitar factory would just be cool for me. we're doing I will announce this is our only a guaranteed approved episode so far for 2026. We're doing the largest parade in the country, Thanksgiving Day parade. How the floats are built over the course of 7 months, how the balloons are put together, how thousands of volunteers make the whole thing work, the clowns, everything, and I'm gonna get to be on a float for the parade, which would be incredible. Um, we have just like I have some ridiculous ideas that I put in here that just like probably won't happen, but I'm like, fighter jet's been on my list for 3 years in a row. There's a lot of training that goes into being able to go up in a fighter jet and not black out. So that one just hasn't happened. Helicopter pilot, that one I've had approved before. We've had to cut it because we had too many episodes.
Hmm.
But like, what's cool about the show is like we can work with bus drivers and make it amazing. We can work with executive chefs or figure skaters or monster truck drive. I mean, like we could do a plumbing episode and make it cool. Like my crew
Right.
is so talented and like we're so good at what we do at this point that we could find a way to do like if someone said like and I have a lot of people message me on our Facebook. We have a spot or our website where it says be our guest and you can fill out a form if you want to be a guest on the show. And we get some people like, hey, I'm a mortgage lender. And I'm like, how would we have you as a guest? Like, what are we going to show you do? Like, that is ridiculous. But then we've had conversations with a mortgage lender
Have you ever
before.
checked rates? Have
Yeah,
you?
no, but like, what's cool about it is this is how creative we can get with stuff in our show. It's so diverse. Is we talked about this last year, but we had to cut it again because we had too many
Mhm.
episodes. We talked about a mortgage lender episode, and I was like, dude, I'm not going to sit in your office. I don't, I'm not, this is boring. Like, there's no way I'm gonna make that cool. I'm like, but what if we do this? We'll go over like 5 tips from a mortgage lender, from a broker, a guy who owns a broker, a huge brokerage, one of the biggest in the country. We'll go over your 5 best tips for people to get the most out of your mortgage. That'll be like a few minutes. Cool. But then let's go do something awesome. Like, let's go do this crazy community service thing where we go build a house for homeless people, or let's do something that kind of fits in with what you do, like mortgage lending, but let's go pay people's rent for the day. Like, let's go door to door and pay people's mortgage payments for the day, or like, let's go do something awesome. Like, that's
Right.
how we can make your job cool. Like,
Put
let's
the
make
twist
like,
on it.
yeah, like the Oakland County executive. I told him, I was like, dude, I met him at an award ceremony and I was like, you're a really cool dude, man. I'm like, but I can't, like, I want to have you on the show. You're a character. I'm like, but I don't want to sit in an office. I can't, your job is not like, you're a politician. I don't really want to promote politics and I really don't want to promote your job,
Right.
but let's do something cool. So we went to the Oakland County Animal Shelter and just played with dogs all day. And like the episode is beautiful. Like, it is such a great episode. Like, I saw the rough draft of it the other day and I was like, man, like, how did that episode become so cool? Like, that has no business being that awesome. So like with our show, like, we can do anything. And the
Right.
beauty of me owning my own show, I don't have to answer to the networks. I mean, I have rules and regulations and I have a lot of like,
Guidelines.
I can't do like our paintball gun episode got rejected because it's gun themed. Like I have guidelines, but like I own my content. The network doesn't own my show, so they can't dictate what I do or don't do. Besides, I can't promote violence.
Mhm.
I can't kill fish on video or kill animals or I have a firearm restriction because Discovery Channel or Warner Brothers, I should say, has a firearm restriction if they don't own the show because they can't control how it's perceived, which I understand. So like the beauty of owning my own show and having like I own the rights, the copyrights, I own it's all mine. I can do whatever I want. Like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like I can do an episode about a writer. I can do an episode about a photographer. I can do an episode about anything. So our dream list every year, we always have a few ones that we're just like, there's no way that's gonna happen. And sometimes they do. Like the
Right.
NHL one, there's no way the MLB, the NHL, those two specifically. I was like, there's no way we're gonna get a major league baseball team to let us film with them and film in their stadium, like full bore film in their stadium. Let me pitch from the mound, let me run in the outfield, let me run in the infield. Infields are very protected at baseball stadiums. And there's no way. And sure enough, I had a baseball team like completely on board. Like, and it wasn't even like I didn't have to chase them down. They kind of came to me through a mutual connection. And it was
Mhm.
just like, I'm like, wait, the Atlanta Braves are going to let us walk on the field and like have free reign to hit baseballs all day. And they're going to bring out the entire engineering crew to run pitching machines for us and pick up baseballs all day. And like, the media team's going to be there. And like, there's no way. like it happened. So sometimes we put up these crazy ideas that we don't think there's any way in the world that we're going to be able to do it. And or the opposite, where we pick an idea like the bus driver, where my crew was like, "Man, are you sure? Like, how are we going to make a bus driver episode look cool?" And I was like, "Dude, I have a amazing idea for this. Like, we're gonna do
Right.
this huge party for appreciation for all the bus drivers in the whole district, 250 bus drivers in one room. We're gonna walk around and meet everybody and talk to everybody. And I just want to I want to get to know every single person in that room by the time I leave. I'm like,
Right.
and then we're gonna focus on this one specific school district that happens to run 250 bus drivers on propane fueled buses because it's better for the environment. It's better for the maintenance. It's better for the bottom line of the repairs and stuff for the school district, and it's better for clean water and clean energy and all this great stuff. I'm like, we're going to focus on all these bigger things than just a bus driver. And my
Yes.
crew was like, what? Like, how in the heck did you wizard this one together? And I was like, this is why it's so much fun. That's my number one favorite full-time job I
Yeah.
have in the show.
This is what
And
happens when you don't sleep.
yeah, dude, I have ideas at 5 in the morning that I type in
Yeah.
my phone where I'm like, oh my gosh, how cool would this be? And most of them don't happen, but once in a while, I'll hit, like, you throw darts till you hit a bullseye,
Oh, yeah.
once in a while I'll hit one where I'm like,
The
dude,
answer is always going to be no if you don't ask.
100%. And
So,
same thing with the Coast Guard. I've actually reached out. There's some episodes I've wanted to do for 5 years that I've reached out to people in this industry for 5 years, and it still hasn't happened yet. Baseball was one of them. I reached out to baseball teams for 4 years before I gave up. And then a team came to me and I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, same thing with NHL. I tried doing my local team here, the Detroit Red Wings, and I just
mhm.
couldn't get, like, I got so many connections. I got so far, like, so many layers into the organization, and it just got shut down. Like, I just wouldn't get replied to, or like it would just fall apart. And then literally, I'm not lying when I say this. My UPS driver is a
Mhm.
huge fan of my show. He's also the UPS driver that delivers to a lot of pro athletes in my area. I live around a bunch of lakes, so there's a lot of really wealthy people that live on lakes around me. And he's like, "Oh man, you play hockey too?" He saw my hockey stuff in my garage, and he goes, "Dude, I just came back from this guy's house." And I'm like, "No way." I'm like, "Dude, I know that kid when he was in high school. Like, I goalie coached his backup goalie. Like, I know who that kid is. He's like the best pro goalie." He goes, "Dude, I just left his house. Do you want his number?" And I'm like, "Nah, don't give me his number. That's weird." But like, mention it to him that, like, I would love to talk to him. Within a week, me and this guy are in contact because of our UPS driver. And then he was like, "Okay,
Right.
cool. Here's the number for this guy, and just call this guy from our team." And they ended up flying the media team for the Winnipeg Jets from Canada into Michigan to film behind the scenes stuff with us. And like, it was fully involved, and I had to do nothing. It was just like, so like, sometimes the way this stuff happens is just mind blowing. So like, there's no limit to what we can do.
Yeah,
So
that's kind of how it's been with me with the magazine. I mean, I try to treat everyone the exact same, like you said, just be genuine. And it's worked out like, oh, you do this? Well, this
uh-huh.
person they own this company, or this is the person in charge of this. I'll do a three-way conversation. You're talking to the owner of a company that, okay, I wasn't expecting that today, but that's cool as could be.
Yep.
So,
I was at the parade company in Detroit here. They're the ones that do the Thanksgiving Day parade,
mhm.
and we were just talking, and this dude's like, "Oh yeah, my best friend is a CEO of this like, $500 million company right down the street. Like, I got to introduce you guys." And I was like, "Man, like, sometimes I get in situations where I'm like, what decision like had the spiderweb effect that led me to this? Because what, like, how did that happen?" Like, I
Right.
had a mutual friend of mine introduce me to one of the largest candy companies in the world. They're a mutual friend, and they're like, "Hey, you got to meet this guy." And we got on the phone and started talking a few months ago. And I was like, it's so crazy how, like, when you do things for the right reasons and you stay persistent, like, when you see an obstacle, like, I say this analogy a lot in my speeches, but if you're on the freeway and you see a roadblock, you have two choices. You can get off on an exit and go off on an unknown adventure and just go, like, whatever you have to do until you get back on track, or you could stop at the roadblock. And I am not wired to stop at a roadblock. I just keep on driving. And if I have to veer off and go on a completely separate adventure, like, you never know where it's going to take you. You never know what happens,
Right.
but I'm still moving. It's all, like, if you stay like that, it's amazing what opportunities can be in front of you. Like, it's incredible. Like, a lot of failures happen, of course. Like, you're going to crash your car eventually if you never hit the brakes. But at the same time, like, you're going to see some pretty cool stuff on your journey if you just keep on driving. So like, it's incredible how that works.
So I have one final question. So with you and your production crew, you're Emmy nominated, and I know that you and your production crew are probably tight. your what was your reaction to their reaction when they found out they were part of an Emmy nominated show? Were they blown away that like the fishing show, you know, um, was a recognition expected by them or?
So the first, I mean, we want to like we as a show and me personally have actually won a lot of awards in the last like
Mhm,
4 or 5 years, like a lot of them. It's like I have my hallway, I call it the Hall of Fame. It's my
mhm,
hallway. I have framed certificates and awards and magazines and newspaper articles and stuff framed everywhere. I frame everything. I think it's like super important to be very proud of what you do. I
mhm,
have severe imposter syndrome as well, where like I don't feel like I belong in a lot of environments I'm in, or I don't feel like I earned where I'm at a lot of times. Like I feel like I'm like yeah, like it's, my title sounds amazing, like what I do, but like I'm still like I'm not there at all yet.
right.
And I think it's very healthy to have that mentality because it keeps you always reaching for something more. Like you've never made it, you know.
Mhm,
So my crew expected that things were going to get better and grow at that level. And like to win an Emmy or submit to the Emmys or anything, like you have to willingly submit to them. So my crew knew like we submit to award shows often. So we're like, it was very well known, like we're submitting to the Emmys and
mhm,
we probably won't get it. That was kind of like the mentality. Like it's very rare we'll get a nomination. Like it's very unlikely. Like our little show is not going to get a nomination, but it's important to submit and just get in front of the judges and just let people know we exist. And after a few years, we might get a nomination. There's people in my crew who have submitted a lot of times to the Emmys and have never been nominated. So they're like, just be ready, but it's okay. Like, don't worry about it. So we submitted with that mentality. But then when we got the email, and it came via email, which is also crazy to me, we got an email saying, "Congratulations, you've been nominated in whatever Emmy, the 40 something or whatever." I got a plaque up there
mhm,
from the nomination. Like you've been accepted, blah blah blah. You've been nominated. Like here's your acceptance thing, and come on to the award ceremony, and blah blah blah. And I remember it's weird how I don't know what day it is half the time. Like I can't
mhm,
tell you much about yesterday. Like my memory sucks. But there's certain moments in time that are like in a jar for me. And I was sitting right here at my desk and I got the email and I was on my computer doing something. I don't remember what I was doing. I could have been doing anything. But my phone is always right here next to me. And my phone lit up. I saw the email from the National Awards of Television Arts and Sciences, I think it's called, from the Academy, they call it. And I
mhm.
saw the email and I was like, oh, what's that? And I clicked it. And the first sentence was congratulations. And I looked at it and I froze. And it felt like 25 minutes went by and it was probably 3 seconds. And I remember I had this like tingling feeling, like almost like I was going to pass out, but like I wasn't. And
Mhm,
first thing I did was I called Donnie, who's my producer, who's an amazing human. He started as my intern 5 years ago, and now he's my producer, and he's one of the most talented people I've ever met in my life. Um, Called him up, and then my second thing I did, I called my mom, and I said, "Mom, I hope you're not busy on this date because you're my plus one."
heck yeah.
And it was the first thing I said. Like, I'm gonna get emotional saying this even. It was the first thing I said because I wouldn't not only would I not be alive because of how pregnancy and birth works in humans, but like
Mhm,
I wouldn't have survived life if it wasn't for my mom. So being able to share that moment with my mom and being lucky enough to have not only have a mom in my life, but my mom's my best friend. I'm my mama's boy through and through. To be able to call her up and say, "Hey, save the date for June, whatever the date was." Um, I'm like, "You're my plus one." And she's like, "For what?" I'm like, "We're going to the Emmys." And like that moment will sit in my mind for the rest of my life. That moment will stick with me the rest of my life. Um,
mhm,
we didn't not only did we not expect to get a nomination, but when I started this show, like I'll be the first to tell you that I had no idea where it was gonna go. I had no goal of what it was gonna be one day. Uh,
mhm.
I just really loved what I was doing, and I just kept on doing it, and I never wanted it to stop. And that's how I still feel to this day. Like
Right.
I work 12 to 18 hours a day, a lot of days. There's days where I don't do much work at all. I have to take days off. I have to have personal health days or I will freak out. So there's days where I'll go golfing for a full day. I golf 27 holes a day sometimes, like, or I'll
Mm.
play hockey all day, or I'll just do something just to get out of my element. And when you work from home, anybody will tell you this. When you work from home, you never get to leave home. Like, you get a little bit weird. Like, you have to get out of your environment.
Right.
So the fact that the show got to that point was just insane. And then last year we got we submitted 3 categories last year because we're like, we're not going to get a nomination twice in a row, so we're going to submit in, you know, as many categories as we can, and it's a very expensive process and it takes a long time, and so we're like, we'll submit in 3 categories because it's super expensive, and we'll just see if we get 1 nomination out of it. We want to up our chances. We submitted in like cinematography for my camera guys. We submitted me as a host, which was also, I was like, there's no way we'll get nominated for that because me being a host goes against all the other TV shows and hosts that are way better than I am, way more talented, way more experienced. Like, I don't belong in that category. And then we submitted the show itself in the lifestyle category, which is what we got the nomination in for 2023, which goes against lifestyle category is like insane. It's not like sports where it's like sports. Lifestyle is like cooking shows and home renovation shows and like everything else, like everything that we don't belong. We got all 3 categories. We got nominated. Like,
heck yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
how does that happen? You know what I mean? And that email last year wasn't as impactful as the first year because the first year was like, holy crap, why is my name and my show name and the same letterhead as an Emmy logo in the Academy Awards? And like, why is that? Like, this doesn't make sense. Last year was like more of a like, heck yeah. Like, when that email came through, I was like, 1, 2, we got 3. I'm like, all right, like we're in this now. Like, we belong. This year at the Emmys, I get there. There's other people at the Emmys that are taking pictures with me and like wanting to meet me, and like their kids are big fans of mine. And like, this year was the first year people are like, they heard it over the screen and the big TV that showed the preview of our show when they announced that we're nominated with whoever else we're nominated with. When they say Bassquatch Hunter, everybody is kind of like, what in the heck is a Bassquatch? And like, and they saw the video and they're like, fishing show. Like, I'm the only fisherman in the room by far. And everyone's looking around, they're like, who the heck is this dude? So afterwards, it became like a talking circle where everyone's like, everyone wanted to know who I was. Like, why am I there? It's like the old Boys and Girls Club. Like, everyone there kind of knows everybody and they're used to going there every year. And, you know, it's the same media people. I was the new kid, and nobody's ever been there that's a fisherman. Nobody's ever been in that room that's a fisherman. That's not normal. So going back last year, it was like I walked in and people, I don't even know who they were like, Mike, what's going on? Like, oh, I love that episode you did with this or that. I was like, what? Like, you watch my show? Like, what?
Right.
Like, I watch your show. Like, what are you talking about? Like you're this famous crazy dude. But then after a while, you start realizing like, I'm in the same room as these people. Like, maybe I do belong here. Maybe, I guess. Like, this is nuts.
Right.
It'll never get old. It'll never get old. We just submitted to the Emmys last week, actually. So the Emmy call for the Michigan Emmys was last week. The call for National Daytime Emmys is in 9 days. So we'll submit to that as well. We submitted the Telly Awards, the television awards as well 2 weeks ago. Which we've won 3 of those. We have 2 bronze and a silver. The silver we got last year, so we're going for a gold this year. But we've won in sports on television, and we've won in nature and wildlife excellence on television twice. So we're going for another television award this year. We're not the only fishing show to ever win a Telly Award, which is awesome. So we're not the only ones in that category. So that I love that there's more TV shows that are fishing related that are going to the television awards. But the Emmys, we're still the only fishing show to have the nomination so far. But I hope we're not. I hope every fishing show in the world starts submitting to the Emmys, and we can just make it more normal. You know, because
Be your own category.
Yeah, I want a fishing how cool would that be? Even though we don't fit into a fishing, like the Emmy board contacted us when we submitted and questioned our show and said, what category are you guys trying to apply in? We're like, we don't know. We're like, we don't fit the sports requirements because we're not a sports team or a sports documentary. Like, we don't fit the requirements. And they're like, and we don't fit nature and wildlife because that's like like Nat Geo documentaries, and like a lot of it was like a lot of the previous winners and stuff were like zoo documentaries and like, you know, the world stuff. Like we're not Shark Week, you know what I mean? Like we don't know where to go. Like our show is not like anything that you've seen before. And they're like, yeah, you're right. They're like, well, we're gonna put you in a lifestyle. And we're like, okay. So we looked up all the past winners, and they're like big cooking shows and stuff like that. And we're like, all right, well, there's no way we're getting nominated in that category. And then we did. It was like twice, 2 years in a row, both times we're batting 1,000. We're like, holy crap. So it's nuts, man. It's absolutely insane. And believe it or not, and I'm gonna squeeze this in real quick because I know we're going on over your time here, but believe it or not, that's not my favorite accomplishment of the show. I don't think it's my biggest accomplishment, to be honest with you. It's in my top 3 for sure, but it's probably the one that strikes the most attention when I say it, or when I hand someone one of our I thought I had one up here, but one of our cards that shows 4-time Emmy nomination. That people are like, wait, what? It's always the Discovery Channel logo and the Emmy logo that people are like, whoa. But neither one of those two are my number one. My number one accomplishment that I've done since day one that I'm the most proud of, that I'll be honest with you, I wish I could do it full time only. Like if I could pick one part of my career and just do it that one part only, it would be this 100%. My children's book series, The Adventures of Seth Squatch. Me and my good buddy Josh, who is the illustrator of these, we do these books, and this was like something that, you know, I wrote a book in high school, and it was a short story. I was in a writing class for 4 years, and it was like my final, and it was so good, and I was like, man, I'm gonna be a writer, but I don't have the patience to sit still and write, so that didn't work out. So when I was 17, I started writing a book about a homeless person in Detroit that I passed every day, and I worked for my dad at a food company, and I would take I made like $100 a week. Like I didn't, it was, you know, this is also 25 years ago, but I would take my $100 a week that I made, and I would give it to this guy named Ivan on the corner of this service drive in downtown Detroit, and helped him get an apartment. I would get him coffee every day, and I would just talk to him for hours every day. And I ended up writing a book called Rags, about his story. I never finished it. It's in a notebook somewhere in my office here from 20 years ago that's still never been touched. I lost touch with the guy, so I quit writing it. But I wrote a book. I wrote a lot of chapters so far about him, and I was like, my whole life since then, for 20 years, I'm like, man, I really want to write a book, but I don't have the patience to write. So when I started working with kids all the time, and I started realizing that was like my true passion. I've always taught kids. I've taught kids in hockey and self-defense and guitar. Like I've always loved working with kids. I was like, this is it. This book series is so special and personal to me. Each one of these books is based off a real episode, a real adventure, a real person, a real thing that happened. They follow along our episodes. We have 3 books out so far. The first one right here is where he gets the name the Bassquatch Hunter. And he meets a fisherman in the woods for the first time, meets a human for his very first time, realizes that humans aren't so scary. People that are different than him are kind of cool. So he learned how to catch big fish. The illustrations are incredible. He got picked on for being a small Sasquatch, which is pretty personal to me, obviously. My dog Cedar is on every page. He meets a human for the first time, which that guy looks a little familiar to some people. It's me. And he catches his first Sasquatch-sized bass and got the nickname the Bassquatch Hunter. Then he leaves the woods every day to go teach new people how he got the name the Bassquatch Hunter, teach them how to fish, share his passion for being outdoors, share his passion for meeting new people, and share his love for being in a kayak out fishing, just like I do. So each book is amazing. He's a comedian, a race car driver and stuff. And then 2 weeks ago, we came out with our coloring book, which I am so in love with. It's 12 activity pages and 20 coloring pages, and they're all pages from the books.
Very nice.
And there's activity pages. There's educational pages, show you what pike look like, smallmouth bass, largemouth bass. There's my dog Cedar right there too. And then the last page is the most important page, and it's get outside and find these scavenger hunt items and check them off your list. And then our books are right here too. But this book series, you can get it at SethSquatch.com. So Seth-Squatch.com. Or you can go to Bassquatch.com or BassquatchHunter.com and click shop and then go to all the stuff. But I am so proud of this book series and what it's done. And I get so much feedback. I've got stacks of like, and I'm not even exaggerating, like hundreds of thank you cards written on construction paper, from coloring pages, from random coloring books or drawings from kids themselves, from ages 3 years old to 15 years old. I have literally hundreds because of all the kids I work with and the children's books, and people get so touched and the families love them and the adventures, and there's such great messages in every book. Like adults legitimately love the storylines, and they're made for up to 12 years old, but there's kids that read these books that are 17, 18 years old, 16 years old. They're like, man, like it's a cool story. And I was like, yeah, like it's awesome. Like I'm so proud of it. So like that part of my adventure, my journey,
Hmm.
I still can't believe I've published children's author to my resume. Like it blows my mind. We're on our 5th printing of book 1. We've sold out 5 times. We're on our 2nd printing of book 2. We're still on 1st printing of book 3 because it just came out too long ago, and we've just launched the coloring book a week ago. So we're running the kids weekend in Indiana this weekend. We're gonna have all our books for sale there, and I'm sure we're gonna sell out of all of them. Probably it's a huge kids event. Thousands of kids come there for this event. I get to teach them how to fish and seminars, and then get to read the books and sell the books there too. But I'll
Yeah.
tell you what, that was an adventure I never thought I'd be on for sure.
My wife's a preschool teacher, and I go
Oh,
in
no
and
way.
I do.
I got to send you one of these.
Awesome. I go in and do like woodworking and stuff like that, and
Oh,
taking like a
cool.
sawzall and show them things. Yeah, it's different when you get the positive feedback from those little kids. Like it's just totally genuine,
Yep.
and they made a thing said thank you, Mr. Roy, on cardboard, like construction paper. I put it on the fridge just like I did it myself.
Yep.
So yeah,
I
I
have a
get it.
couple on my fridge right now too. I always take like the newest one, goes on my
Hmm.
fridge for a while, and then when I have to replace it, it goes in a. I have a, and I hate to say this, but it's a pile at this point because I don't know where to put them. But like I've had full classrooms. Like I did a book reading last year to 256 kids at one time. Like I had a whole
Mm.
gym, and all the kids were so captivated. It was an hour long, seminar and book reading and stuff. But my book readings are so interactive, and I do so much with the books with the kids, and I run around the room, and it's like, it's like someone told me at a school one time that I was like the Richard Simmons of authors because like I run up and down the aisles of kids and high fiving them. Like I get so excited, like it's so much fun. And every one of those kids in that class, 256 kids, wrote me a thank you card. And like, so I literally have like so many schools have done that. So, and
Mhm.
so many summer camps have done that, and just random fans that I have that are kids. I just had uh, I'm gonna pull this up really quick here. And I'm so sorry that I'm talking so much, man. I'm going way over your time here.
No, we're good. I'm enjoying it.
So I just pulled this up today for a brand. Um, okay. My 13 to 17-year-old demographic is at 2.3% of my audience, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a lot. Like 2.3% of my audience is under 17 years old. Um,
Mhm.
that's pretty good, like considering like the average demographic is usually like 35 to 45. Um, it's incredible. So out of 14.2 million impressions, 2.3% are under 17. Um, it's nuts. Like my biggest demographic by far is 25 to 34, which is a very young demographic for an outdoor show for the outdoor world. Um, Usually it's 45 and up is like the standard outdoorsman. So, you know, being able to reach the kids, the families, everything we do is family friendly, family oriented. Like I get hired for birthday parties all the time. Like the stuff that I do with the kids, like I coach hockey to 12-year-old kids, and um, like all those kids are my buddies. Like like I have so much fun doing that stuff, man. Like
Mhm.
if I could find a way, like I don't charge for most of the stuff I do with kids, like at schools, and like I'll drive hours to go to a school and do a book reading, and I hand out hundreds of dollars worth of stuff to all the kids. Spend 3 or 4 hours there, and
Mhm.
I don't charge for like it's very rare I charge for an event. Like I usually unless it's like it costing me too much or like they're asking too much out of me, then I have to charge them. So it's like, it's I have to make money still.
Right.
But most of the events I do, I give out more than I get paid anyway. Like I hand out books and fishing poles and stuff. Um, like I donate like 50 fishing rods a year to the summer camps usually. So um it's if I could find a way to just do that for a living, like I can't imagine how much fun that would be to just travel the country and just do kids events. Like, it'd be the coolest thing in the world. Like I can't
Right.
imagine like I would lose every friend and relationship I have though because I wouldn't want to do anything else. Like I wouldn't want to
Mhm.
ever like I'd be like I got 10 hours a day of book readings today. Like I wouldn't be able to do it, but it's the most rewarding thing. Like the reason why I do what I do, if I had to sum it down to one reason, it's because I love sharing what I'm passionate about with other people. and seeing them enjoy it. Like, I don't think there's any better feeling in the world than telling someone, I love doing this. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And you're like, you're totally validated for everything you've gone through and all your obstacles and stressors and struggles. And, like, there's so much that you go through negatively that one person lighting up and getting excited about what you're excited about makes everything worth it. But when you get that from 250 kids in one day, like,
Right.
like I have summer camps that are hundreds of kids at once. And, it's just like, it's overload. You're like that. I'm set for like my energy level is set for the year. Like that'll get me through everything for the next year. Then it happens again and again and again. And like people always ask, like, how do I keep my energy level up? Like I don't sleep, I don't eat. Like I just don't function like a normal human. I used to stay up all night reading Goosebumps books when I was a kid. Like I just don't. My brain doesn't go to sleep.
Right.
And people are like, how do you do that? How do you do that? I'm like, look, man, I get energized from other people constantly. Like when you see a kid light up and get excited and look up to you, it is the most surreal feeling in the world. Like when a kid tells me like I'm their idol, I'm like, what? Like, dude, you're my idol. What are you talking about? Like, you're the coolest kid ever. Like, what are you talking about? You look up to me. Like nobody looks up to me. I'm 5'5". Like nobody looks up to me. Like everyone's taller than me. Half the kids I coach in hockey that are 12 are taller than me. And I'm like, look up to someone taller than you. Like I always make that joke, but like, it's funny. I actually have a speaking of that, I have this picture frame of my nephews right here that they gave me. And it says, we'll look up to you no matter how tall we grow. And I've always loved that one because I always make that joke. But like what's better than inspiring the next generation to love what you love? Like, and it's positive,
Right.
It's just, it doesn't get better than that. It'll fuel me forever. And having this career was never a thought. Like fishing is not my favorite thing in the world. I have other passions that I've been doing my entire life, like music and hockey, but fishing is just something that saved my life. The therapeutic side of fishing just literally got me out of my head so many times and put me in a spot where I learned that I found an avenue to help other people at a bigger scale. Like when I first started kayak fishing, I was one of the founding members of the Heroes on the Water chapter in my state. And working with veterans and getting them on the water and just sharing my love for kayak fishing and watching them transform right in front of my eyes, like watching these hardened grown men and women who are just amazing, strong people, like stronger and braver than I'll ever be in my life, watching them be afraid to be outdoors. And then by the end of the day, don't want to stop because they're in love with it. Like watching that happen in the very early stages of kayak fishing, I was like, what is better than this? Like fishing is not my favorite thing. Kayak fishing is not my favorite thing, but inspiring people and seeing life being changed, like, holy crap, is that powerful? Like, how can you not get jazzed up by that every day? Like, how can you not want to sit here for an hour and 37 minutes and talk about it and be excited about it all day? Like, how can you not want to,
Yeah. The first time I volunteered for the Heroes on the Water, I am not former military, but I was looking for a place to give back that's on brand. And I was like, what? That's amazing. And their photos, in our photo studio, we do like military portraits almost every day. So
oh, really?
like,
That's awesome.
like we're good to go with that. So I went there and immediately they started joking me like I had been, one of them the whole time. They didn't pull any punches. I was just like, all right, I'm welcome,
Oh, I
So
just realized you're wearing a how hat right now. That's funny.
yes.
That's so ironic. So I do every year I donate to like the Michigan Veterans Foundation, and we donated a snowblower last year because I heard that they needed one. We donated 100 winter hats. Like I've done a lot of, if you look through my YouTube videos, I've done a lot of veteran based episodes. Like I'm not a veteran myself. I enlisted in the Marines when I was in high school. When 9/11 happened, I was a junior in high school, and me and a bunch of buddies enlisted in the buddy program. And I had asthma, and at the time I had 2 broken ribs. So the Army would have taken me, but the Marines didn't. They said I had to train for 6 months, do a breathing test, pass all this stuff. So I worked with a gunnery sergeant for 6 months, and I couldn't get accepted. I couldn't pass. Like the Marines just wouldn't take me, and I was like heartbroken for like 6 months, and that was about it. Because then I started hearing the stories of my buddies that did go to Paris Island, and then when I got out of the boot, they would tell me like what boot was like, and I was like, oh, I'm not built like that. Never mind. Like I was just angry when 9/11 happened, and I was like, I felt patriotic in the moment, and I was into like wrestling and football and hockey. Like I was athletic. I didn't realize what they actually went through, and I was like, nope, that's not for, like, I'm not built like that. Like I will tell you firsthand, I'll be the first to admit I am not courageous or brave or mentally strong or any of the attributes you need to be in that line of work, I'm not enough. Like I am not built to be a military person. But when I learned that, I look at anyone in the military,
Hmm.
that's honorable in the military, I should say. I look up to like a literal human, like life like version of a superhero. Like just like I see firemen. Like I've done 2 fireman episodes, and I am blown away that the kind of people that you have to be a fireman. Like I could never be that. I could never do that. Like it's
Yeah.
like I mentally couldn't handle being a fireman, like or a first responder in general. Like military people are on such a high level of human, like just incredible people. And
Right.
it made me inspired to always want to work and give back. And I don't think as a country we show enough appreciation to our veterans by in
Yeah.
any like we are so far from where we should be with the VA and with homelessness and issues and mental health. And I know
Hmm.
so many veterans where I hear their stories and they're just like I'm just like I just want to like cry the whole time. It's like it's the most terrifying thing I've ever heard of that these people have to go through. So I try to do like I don't do enough, and I wish I could do more, and I will do more. Like one of my motivations to grow this platform is to give back more. I do so much charity work, and I do
Hmm.
my 12 days of fish miss. Like at least once a week I do something to pay it forward. I just pay for groceries or food or volunteer somewhere or do whatever I can. There's an outreach center across the street that I help with all the time, and I do stuff at my church all the time, and like you can never do enough. And eventually one day, I hope that I can make a bigger impact, especially in the veteran community. I think it's the first responders and veterans are the most, unappreciated people in this world, and teachers. And to me, teachers are first responders. And that might
Hmm.
upset some people when I say that, but if you're a teacher, school bus driver, anything like that, you're the first thing that kids interact with every morning, and the last thing they interact with before they go back to their house. So if they have a bad home
Hmm.
environment or an unhealthy home environment, you're their only hope. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes. I've
like
heard some stories. I've heard stories
yeah, and
that,
it's terrifying. Like, how many
yeah.
teachers I work with, my book readings, and how many teachers I work with that I just meet all the time at these kids events, and they tell me what they go through with some of these parents, and I'm just like, it's like the most like if you're a good teacher, and I say that very, very specifically because there's a lot of bad people that are in teaching programs too. But
Hmm.
just like there's bad police officers and bad firemen. I mean, I don't think there is a bad fireman in the world, but like there's bad actors and everything. But
Right.
the good teachers out there, they get paid a tenth of what they should be getting paid for the impact and the importance of their job. And just like most people and first responders and stuff too,
Hmm.
like firemen, like you run into a building that's on fire to save my life and you get paid like 50 grand a year. Like, are you like you
Yeah.
get paid the same as a Taco Bell manager, and you're running into a fire to pull me out. Like, you're the only way that I'll survive if I'm stuck in a building. Like, and you're risking getting like that's insane. That is just like
Right.
here's $1 million a year. You know what I mean? Like, like,
Yeah.
you know, either I'll get on that topic for hours. I am so passionate about the underappreciation for people that deserve appreciation that it blows my mind. And I'm not one of the people that deserve the appreciation by any means, but I get lucky enough in my career to put the spotlight on some of the people that do. And that's why we do episodes with bus drivers, and we do episodes with firemen, and we do episodes with policemen, and we do episodes with dairy farmers. And, you know, I like doing this, the celebrities, like the flashy comedians and professional
Hmm.
athletes, because they've gone through struggles and battles that we'll never know about. We see their career and think, oh, must be nice. You're 23 and you make $10 million a year. But it's like, you never had friends. You never had a social life. You never like you've had more injuries in your 20 years of life than most people will have ever. Like you've overcame like, your family life wasn't great maybe, or like your family was like in welfare programs and
Right.
somehow supported you to play sports your entire like these people have struggles that we'll never understand or appreciate either. But we get to highlight jobs like dairy farmers. Like, who appreciates dairy farmers? Nobody. They should be appreciated like crazy. You know how important that job is?
Oh
Like
yeah.
school bus drivers, the first person that is in charge of your child when they leave the house for school, for their safety, for their upbringing, for everything. The first impact in the morning, the last impact at night. Like, why not put a huge spotlight to millions of viewers across the country and be like, look how important this job is. Like these
Yep.
people, like, you know, not to take the spotlight off veterans, because veterans I think are the highest on the list, but
Hmm.
there's so many professions and so many incredible people out there that we walk right past every day, and like we're only here because of them. I'm talking like plumbers and infrastructure people and like everybody. Like
Right.
you know, you never know what people contribute or how important somebody is in your life. And you just got to treat everybody as if they matter. You know what I mean? Because they do. And not everybody is a great person, but everybody has a potential to be great or do something great. And, you know, we can get on that topic for hours too. But like, I'm sorry, I get super passionate about that part because that's literally like why I do what I do. I share the message in my show of anybody could do anything and anyone can try anything. And
Right.
you know, like I filmed with a guest this year that was the most furthest you could possibly get from um my political views, my religious views, my um you know, my love for the outdoors. Like they were the most opposite person you could think of, and I consider this person a close friend now. And they were such a great person, and they do so much great things for so many great people. And I was like, man, like never in normal life would I be in a circle with this person normally. Like I never would have met this person. I never would have appreciated this person the way I do now. But
Right.
I literally purposely picked a guest that was the most opposite you could ever get of me. And I wanted to see what it was like to spend 8 hours on the water with somebody like that. And it was one of the greatest like conversations. And like that episode is going to be, I think it's going to touch a lot of people in the same way it touched me, because this person, if you just do a quick Google search, you'll see how different they are from a lot of viewers of my show. And that's the most beautiful part is I got to spotlight somebody that I never would have met any other way. I never would have been in the same circle in any other way. And now I get to appreciate them for who they really are, not what the label says or what the website says or what the internet says.
Right.
So like
The thing that's horrible is when we were younger, we would spend all of our time searching for similarities so that we could be friends. Like,
yeah,
what are you in? Now we spend as adults all of our time looking for the things that set us apart so we could have that friction. You know, like we'll go through
yeah,
like,
isn't
oh,
that
you like
weird though?
fishing? I like fishing. You like coffee? I like coffee. Oh, you like that? I hate that. We're done. Wait, we have 15 other things. Why does this
Yeah.
one thing? Why did you search for the one thing? You
Why do you
know?
think that is though? Like what do you think changed? I mean, I know what I blame it on because I agree with you 100%. I blame it on social media,
Hmm.
100% because social media gave voices to people and platforms to people that shouldn't have
Should never.
platforms.
Yeah.
And it made people believe everything that people say a lot differently. Like when we were kids, someone would say something crazy and you just be like, "Oh, that guy's crazy." Like, you know, that's just I know better. That's just ridiculous.
Like
Um,
a West Side Story gang thing now. Like these people
yeah.
against these people. But I mean, if we all go fishing, I don't know who you are, what you are. Let's just go fishing. You
Yeah, and
know?
you know what? That's what's cool about my show is that I'm not taking fishermen fishing. You know, I'm not taking people that also love fishing.
Hmm.
I have some guests. I've got one coming up for for next season already that flat out told me I would never go fishing. I'm only going fishing because of the show. Like I would never do this normally. My normal like he's like, you know, I don't know how old he is. He's past 50s. I know that.
Hmm.
And he's never fished a day in his life, never even tried it, never wanted to, never would naturally for the rest of his life, but I'm gonna take them fishing. And I've only had 3 guests this year that were I would consider fishermen, like they fish. 2 of them actually do. One of them does pro tournaments on the off season actually. Um, the rest of my guests have never seen a live fish or a fishing pole in their life. Like I teach them how to hold a fishing pole first and like not to hold it upside down and how to reel, you know, like I love that about our show is that, and I want my viewers to see that and inspire them to go do this. Like, don't take a fisherman fishing, take somebody who's never been fishing in their life out fishing, share your love for it. And if they
Hmm.
hate it, they're going to fall in love with the experience. I've never had a guest have a bad time. I had one guest. Anytime someone says, "What's the worst guest you've had?" I will say the same answer every time. I never had a bad guest in my life. I had a guest who had a bad experience. He was scared to death of water, of being outdoors, of getting dirty. He was scared of fish, and he caught one fish. He made the funniest face in the world, held the pole as far away as he could. He touched it. He held it on camera. He begged me for hand sanitizer and a towel, and then he quit. He quit fishing. Um, but afterwards, he told me, I hate being on the water. I have a pontoon boat because I live on a lake. I don't go on it. I don't like being near the water. I think it's dirty. It's gross. He's like, I had more fun in that kayak than I've ever had on the water in my life. He's like, I could see myself buying one of those kayaks and just going out for fun, just pedaling around. He goes, I was so comfortable. He goes, it was so distracting from all my anxiety. He's like, I don't like fishing, and that wasn't for me, but I'm
Hmm.
glad I tried it. So now I know it wasn't for me, and I can say I did it. I got a picture of me holding a fish now. He's like, but the adventure of being out there, he's like, it forced me to do something I would never do. And now I appreciate it. And it's like, you can take someone who hates fishing out fishing and they might not like fishing, might not ever do it again. But I promise you, the adventure that you both get out of it will last forever. Like those guests that I take out fishing, and then I'm just after my conversation with them, I'm just like, it changes my life. I'm like, man, like I learned so much from hearing the story of this person's struggles and obstacles and what they went through. And, like the comedian I filmed with, his dad passed away from Agent Orange from Vietnam and went through this crazy thing. And like, his mom passed away at an early age. He got arrested 27 times before he was 18 years old. Like, he's like this crazy stuff that you would never know by watching this guy online or watching his specials or anything. And you're just like, holy crap. Like you learn so much. And when people watch my show, it's all I want them to take from it. I don't care if you like fishing or not. I don't care if you like the guest or not, or what they do for a living, but I want you to watch it and take away the fact that you can take someone so opposite from you, go out on an outdoor adventure, whether it's hiking, camping, fishing, show them what you love about the outdoors, get out of their like protective bubble, make them open up, and you open up, take off all of the labels, take off who you voted for, take off what you believe in religiously, take off, any preconceived notions you might have about somebody, and just talk. And the things that you can learn about yourself in those moments, and that you can learn about other, like, there's people I've taken out, like, I'm not even lying to you. I've taken out fishing where we become really good friends afterwards, where I'm just like, I would never, like, you don't fit in with any of my friends. Like, have you seen the movie, I Love You Man with Paul Rudd and
Yes.
Jason Segel? So I love that movie. You know how he got his groomsmen group, and it's like a 75-year-old guy who catfished him on the internet, and like like Lou Ferrigno, the Hulk, and like the most craziest, weirdest that would never be a group of friends,
Right.
but they all came together for one thing. That's what I feel like my show is. Like if I
Yeah.
had a party where all my guests got together, like can you imagine like a bus driver,
Be a melting pot.
like a professional baseball player, a dairy farmer, a bison farmer, a potato chip factory owner, like just these people don't belong together. Like I always tell people in interviews, the only thing we have in common is that we do something we love, we're passionate about what we do, and we want to share it and inspire other people to go chase their dreams.
Right.
And we overcame obstacles. Like nobody got a free ride. Nobody's like, I'm not gonna have a guest on my show who's never worked a day in her life and just runs a company. Like everybody I work with, put on camera and share their story. They gave up every traditional lifestyle they could to chase their dreams, and they go through all the obstacles and all the struggles that we might never know about, and we get to talk about it. It's like
Right.
it's just so crazy to me. Like I can't imagine, like as long as I'm lucky enough to have the support from people, I will do the show the rest of my life. I'll never retire. I'll never stop doing it.
Right.
Like I never want to stop doing what I do. Like it's so much fun.
And I would say on like a deeper level, like yes, you do the fishing and you do what they do, but everyone can find a similarity. It doesn't have to be fishing. It doesn't have to be whatever. Like if you like when I work with people, we would find things that you know, I used to love going shooting, and then some of the people had never been, so we would go do that, and then they did certain hobbies, and we would go do that. So we weren't necessarily on the same friend level, if you will, but we had similar interactions. So I think that your show was a great um, template for just everyday general life, people trying to find the similarity, not the difference.
Absolutely. And I pick my guests like that too. And I think my guest picking like system that I have, if you call it a system, is probably the coolest part of my job, because I meet people at trade shows that just tell me like we'll have a conversation, we'll talk for an hour about what they do, and it just slips out that they own a bison farm, and I'm like, hey, do you want to film together? Like I want to be at a bison farm. Like I want to see that. Like I'm sure my viewers will, but like it's not like I told you how Rick Rubin said he makes music for himself and people
Mhm.
just agree with him. I make videos for me. Like I make episodes because I want to do that. Like I want to play baseball with a pro baseball player. So I did. Like I want to play hockey with the number one goalie. It's my dream. Like I've played
Mhm.
hockey for 37 years. Like I want to be on the ice with the NHL players and get shots from NHL players and make saves And I did, and I had a blast. Like, it was like I didn't want it to end. Like, it was like the fastest
Right.
experience I've ever had because it was so big. Like, I wanted to drive a monster truck, so I called every monster truck team that I would talk to me and found someone that would agree to let me drive their $1 million monster truck over cars. And I did. I did it. Like, I wanted to work with penguins. I wanted to touch a penguin. Like, who gets to do that? So I called the zoo and said, "Hey, I want to touch penguins." I didn't say it like that, but like, I'm like, I want to show off what you guys do. Like,
He's
so like,
calling again.
yeah, like, hey, it's the penguin toucher. He's calling again. But no, like, I literally make up episodes like where I'm like, oh, it'd be cool. Like, I want to fly a helicopter. Like, how cool would that be? So like, I'll do like, let me see if I can do a helicopter episode, because how else will I get to fly a helicopter? Like, I want to be a fireman for, like, what's it like to wear the fireman suit, the 65 pounds of gear, put a mask on, and go put out a fire? Like, who gets to do that? Like, I
Or
want to
sling
do
a
that.
sledgehammer with your full gear on.
Yeah, I did that too, obviously.
Yep.
Like this year, the one that aired this year, I had to put out a house fire, car fire, did trench rescue, did active shooter rescues, did jaws of life and peel the top of cars off. Like, who gets to do that stuff? Like, I just
Right.
wanted to do it. And that's what's cool. Like, I love that about my show, is that, like, I could just like look around my house and be like, I have 9 guitars in front of me. So I'd be like, oh, like, guitars, like, I know how they're built. I've been in guitars my whole life. I've ran music shops when I was younger. Like, you know, I've taken apart guitars, but like, I've never been in a guitar factory. Like, how cool would it be for my 10-year-old childhood self to be like, I'm going to go to a guitar factory and custom make a guitar myself from one of the largest companies in the world, and I'm going to have it on my wall for the rest of my life and be like, I helped build that. Like, who gets to do that? Like,
Right.
and not only that, but like, who do I get to meet? Like, maybe I'm going to meet a guitar builder, a luthier, who has been doing this for 45 years and he's built some of the most famous guitars in the world, or it's got some of the craziest stories. Or maybe I'll meet a guy who's like went through like 20 years of struggling, or like, who am I going to meet? Like, it's not only about what am I going to expose and make, or like, but like, how cool would it be if I get to meet somebody that's just got one of the coolest stories? And we get so lucky. Like, we did a boat factory, like a composite boat factory. They make like hoods for MRI machines, and they make the John Deere tractor hoods, and they make semi truck hoods, and they make electric boats and paddle boats and all this stuff in a composite factory. But the CEO that took fishing, he
Mhm.
used to be a Olympic bobsledder for Team USA. He played Division I football. Like, this dude was like, I had so much fun meeting this guy. Like, we still talk to this day. Like, I help him do prototype testing for his new stuff for his factory. Like,
You're
like,
like, "I'm gonna do bobsledding, so hook me up with your
dude,
people."
when he told me that in the episode, because I don't talk to I don't interview people first. I refuse to. I want everything to be
Mhm.
organic. In the episode, you could see it in the episode. It aired this year. It aired in 2024, this last year. He was like, "Yeah, I was on Team USA bobsledding." I was like, Hold on, don't blow over." And he kept on talking. I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. Did you just like, you were in the Olympics? You're a bobsledder? Like, who the heck? I've never met a bobsledder."
Just says
So
it
we started,
casually.
yeah,
"Eh,
exactly. Oh, okay. Let's don't brush
I
over that.
cook
Like, and you're
burgers, I bobsled." Oh,
yeah,
well,
yeah,
yeah.
D1 football. I'm like, hold on, dude. Like, back up a little bit. And he started showing me pictures. I'm like, I want to go bobsledding, dude. Like, are you kidding me? Like, it sounds terrifying, but like, who gets to go like, so either way, like, the people I get to meet is like the whole other
Mhm.
half of the onion we get to peel back in the show. Like, you know, I love doing factory tours on the show to show how things are made. I love the how it's made show. I grew up on that show. Like, I'm fascinated by how everyday things are made, like what goes
Yes.
into it. So we do a lot of factory tours. I love showing off people that you see the tip of the pyramid, the shiny part of when it's done and it's fancy, blah blah, but you don't see the foundation they had to build to make that point happen. I love showing off these, like, comedians and the people who I always call them the "it must be nice" crowd, because
Mhm.
people see them and go, "Oh, it must be nice. You make $10 million a year to play a sport. Ooh." And it's like, do you know what that dude went through? Like, I want to make sure you understand what this dude went through to get that, because
Right.
the reason why a third of the 1% of people get to that point in the world isn't because he's lucky. I'll tell you that. It's because of this whole story that I'm going to unveil for you.
There's a
And
statement I heard that's not it's very accurate, but it's not good for, uh, mixed conversation, but it involves when you see someone who's pregnant, everyone's congratulatory, but they don't know how long it took.
yeah,
We'll say it that way. And that's kind of how it is. Like when they see you where you are, like, oh, you have this TV show. Ha, no,
oh
you
yeah.
don't even know. You
What's
know,
funny is I tell people, like, you see 12 of my accomplishments a year. You see 12 of my rewards a year. you don't see the other 300, I'm terrible at math, 344 days of sacrificing and struggling. And,
Yeah.
you know, people don't see that. People don't see like when I go into debt and almost lose everything. And, you know, they don't see like when a sponsor goes out of business, like, and how tight my budgets are, or how I give my crew raises every year, but I lose money every year myself. Like,
And
you
you
know,
still have to keep the game face on. Like,
like they don't see any, and that's fine. Like
mhm,
I signed up for this. Like I'm totally cool with that. Like people don't need to see my struggles to appreciate my rewards. I don't
right.
care. I do. Like I see my struggles and I appreciate my rewards. But you see 12 rewards a year. That's it. You see 12 of my episodes a year. Like though my filming days are the best days of my year besides my kids' events, because
Mhm.
those are the easiest days for me. Being on set, my crew takes care of most of the stuff, and I get to meet cool people and have fun. Like that's my best time of the year. 12 times a year, or 24 times, because we film twice. We film fishing one day and then the other thing another day. Like so 24 days a year, and then my kids' events, my best days of the year. The rest of the days aren't always great. Like it's
Yeah.
a lot of work and a lot of stress, and like getting these sponsors, like people don't understand how hard that is. Like I have
Mhm.
sponsors that I work with that took me like 2.5 years to get. Like, and I'm not talking about waiting 2.5 years. I'm talking about 2.5 years of constant emails, phone calls, meetings, like saying yes and then getting let down, or them changing their mind, or their budget's getting cut, or like I'm talking like 2.5 years of a full-time job
Yep.
of just chasing sponsors and trying to meet their demands and do their photo shoots and appearances and their promo stuff, and like branding deals, and going back and forth with contracts for 6 to 8 months and having lawyers do that. Like there's like not every brand's like that, but there's brands that like there's some brands I'm talking to right now that I hope to work with one day, because we have very similar values and integrity and a lot of like congruentness in our missions, that I've been talking to consistently with meetings for 4 years even. Like,
Mm.
but when it does come through eventually, because it will, I don't give up. People will see that and go, "Oh, it must be nice you got that brand." I'm like, "Do you know what I
Yeah.
went through to get that brand? Like, do you understand not only to get them, but to keep them happy and make sure that every single year I make this brand so happy with my work that like my biggest sponsor, multi-billion dollar company, and they definitely don't pay me that, but they're a multi-billion dollar company, one of the largest companies in their field in the world. Me and the marketing department are like best friends. We talk about family stuff. Like we
Mhm.
have like some of the best conversations, but it didn't start that way. But we've gotten so close and we love collaborating. We do so much cool stuff outside of the show together. Like, like if I get married again, like they're coming to my wedding. Like we're personal friends. Like,
Mhm.
and that's what it's all about. Like I get testimonials sent to me from brands sometimes, and I read them and I get emotional. I bawl my eyes out because I'm just so blown away that I'm making other people happy. Like I'm doing something that I'm so proud of, and I'm making other people proud of it too, and they're benefiting from it. Like they're like, we're so happy with everything. Like we're getting such great feedback, and we love what you do. We're so proud of our relationship. I have a brand I work with that had me and the NFL team as their two biggest partnerships,
Mhm.
cut their budget for 2026. And they told me the other or yesterday, I think it was, they decided to cut the NFL team instead of me. And
Wow.
I was like, why? Like, what? Like, you're joking? They're like, no, they're like, we had to
The
like you.
NFL team's not Emmy nominated.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, some NFL teams are, they have video departments and stuff, but
Not that one.
um, I go against them actually in the Emmys and stuff. But I will tell you, like, you know, Nick just made a comment, relationships without burning bridges. And I was just about to say that the number one most important tip I will give anybody out there, and I've seen some of my mentors make this really terrible mistake, is I work on long-term relationships.
Mhm.
I've had so many times where I have competing sponsors that will try to offer me more money. And I tell them, not only will I not take that, but I am disappointed that you thought I would. Like, I'm
Yeah.
disappointed that you're trying to think that I'm money motivated and that a paycheck would make me give up loyalty and integrity. I've worked with the same kayak sponsor since day one, my first sponsor. When Feel Free made the decision to not get rid of me and to bring me on board, I've
Mhm.
stuck with them since day one. I've had other boat manufacturers, kayak manufacturers, electric boat companies reach out to me and offer me way more money, way
Right.
more. They're way bigger companies. And immediately I'm like, no. And luckily every company has been very respectful, great people at every company I've talked to, where they're like, oh, we respect that. That's great. Just keep us in mind in the future. I'm like, great, awesome. But other brands I've had reach out to me, like not kayak brands or boat brands, and there's like, hey, if you leave them, we'll give you this bonus or we'll do this. I'm like, like now I'll never work with you. Like I'd rather take 0 than work.
Right.
Like there's some brands in the fishing industry that I will tell you flat out, their products are amazing. But
Hmm.
some of the people in the company, I would never trust them to talk to my mom on the phone. And that's
Yeah.
how I judge people. If you don't treat me with respect, you're not going to treat my mom with respect if I send her to you for business, or my friend or Nick or you or anybody. And the
I feel like
number
feel
one,
free to you. Feel free to you is like some of my early advertisers. Like I know that when they took stock in me, then they were taking a gamble on something new and
yeah,
going down the line,
and
whatever
that's
they need
valuable.
from me,
That's valuable.
whatever they need from me, I will do, you know? And even people, you know, like Nick and yourself, um, you guys even being in the magazine, you know, it's like, who's this guy? It took me the longest time for people to realize I was a real person. And some of the places I reached out to originally, they wouldn't take my call, so I had an option. I know this company. I use their stuff. I talk about their stuff. Do I take offense that they're not answering me, or do I take a step back and go, all right, they probably get asked all the time for sponsors to give you stuff or whatever. Why? Why would they take my call being a no name? And I just let it be. And now see them at trade shows. They're like, hey, I know we got off to whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'd like to talk to you, you know? So it's like you said, burning the bridges. Like there's an option there.
Yep.
So
And no matter what, you never, and that's the thing. I've seen people do it, and there's a specific person in my mind that I've seen jump ship for paychecks constantly. And when you do that, eventually you run out of ships to jump to.
right.
And when that happens, you're like, well, maybe I can go back to that company. And then they're like, "Pff, you left us for a paycheck because we were in a bad. It's like I have this firm belief in relationships, and I look at all relationships equally on this playing field, whether it's a girlfriend, a marriage, a partner, a business relationship, a family member, a friend. A relationship is a relationship. If you're not looking for something long term, it's not a relationship. It's not. It's an acquaintance, or it's a happening. It's what I call on airplanes a single serving friend.
Yeah.
Um, it's they serve their purpose and they get out of here. And there's people that are like, people in your life aren't always meant to be there forever. Like sometimes they come in, like I use this hockey analogy a lot. Like they come in for one shift just to help you out, score a goal or whatever, you can win the game. But their purpose wasn't to be in your whole career to be your teammate. They were
Right.
just they were there to help you build or help, you know, your team in one shift or one game or one season. Not everybody is meant to be there forever. That's okay. But when you go into a relationship, when you have a commitment to anything, business,
Hmm.
personal, anything, you need to treat that as if it's a lifetime commitment, and you need to build it that way, which means if you have a bad spot in a marriage, you're not supposed to divorce them. You're supposed to work it out. Some people, like my parents have been married for 40 plus years. You
Hmm.
ask them, has marriage been easy forever? They're going to laugh in your face. Anybody who's been married for anything over 10 years will tell you that. They're going to laugh and go, "Pfft." Like, you remember 97 when we had that 2 years where we just wanted to kill each other, and then I woke up with a pillow over my face, and you know,
Yeah.
like there's like, you're supposed to have, and I have this firm belief that if you're supposed to be in a lifetime relationship with somebody, whether it's business or personal, what is 5 bad years, 1 bad year, 3 bad years in the course of 50 years? Like,
Hmm.
what is that in the, like, what is 1% bad and 99% good? Is that really worth, like, you know, if you have $1 million and someone burns $1, is it worth throwing away the other 999,000?
Right. And plus, whoever you advertise with or have interactions with, you should have a belief in their business.
Yeah, it's
So
taking
if
ownership of it. Act like you own the darn thing. I was like, like
and
the right word for it.
yeah,
Oh,
eh,
like, act like you own the darn thing. Like, take
yeah,
ownership and everything. You treat it like if it goes under, you go under. If it gets hurt, you get hurt. If it makes money, you know how many sponsors I work with that every year when I renew with them, they're like, our budgets go up every year because my expenses go up every year. Just it's just the way the world works. That sucks. And I'm like, hey, you know, it's sorry, it's going up, you know, 13% or this year or 9% or 3%, whatever it is. I'm like, my my fees go up and my crew goes up. Everything gets more expensive. Gas money goes up. Airplane
Right.
tickets are almost double right now what they were a year and a half ago even. I'm like, it just happens.
And God forbid you got to get an egg.
Exactly. That's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny because I tell these brands, I'm like, hey, I feel terrible. I'm so sorry. Like, I hope we can still work together. And they're like, yeah, you're helping create our budget. Like, you brought us more budget.
Right.
Like, you know, like, and that's what it's all about. It's like, I want to build my budget with these brands to the point where I'm not even asking them to spend any money on me. I'm asking them to give me a portion of the money I'm making them.
Right.
And that's how I look at every business. I don't ask people for anything until I give them something first. I deliver on everything. I underestimate. I'm doing my new media kit today. Like literally, I was almost late for this interview partially because of that. I'm doing my new media kit for 2026 right now, because right now is when I start working on 2020. I'm a year ahead. So right now to July is when we start working on everything for next year. And I'm going through all of our numbers and all of our stuff. And I underestimate my numbers every year on purpose because I want to over deliver to a point where it almost makes no sense to say no to work with us. So the average CPM, which you know what CPM is, right? For people who don't know, I forgot it's not me and you talking here. We're actually on an interview thing. Sorry, I completely forgot. I just thought we were talking. CPM is per thousand, cost per thousand. So if you have 10,000 impressions on something, then your cost per thousand, the industry standard right now as of 2025, I think for TV, it's like $16 is the median. It's like the middle, $16 per thousand impressions. So that's $16,000 for 100,000 impressions, if my math is correct. So if you have 100,000 impressions and you charge $16, which is the average, meaning that also includes the shows that are like The Bachelor, like primetime shows, and like the most viewed shows in the world. They get 20 million views and like per episode, which is like ridiculous. All the way down to like shows that get like 1,000 views per episode. That's the average is 16. So it's like between 13 and 20, depending on what network, what airtime, what time slot, everything. I come in at such a discounted rate for what the average is, for what my viewership is. We have 12.4 million impressions per year right now, which is freaking ridiculous. Like we broke 12 million this year, and in 2025 we're a guarantee we're going to break 12 million. But I keep on my media kit 12.4 million, even though I know we're going to far exceed that in 2026. But I do that on purpose because when our ratings come out and I start sending them from Nielsen to all of our sponsors and stuff, and they're looking at it and they go, I thought you said you were going to have 8 million minutes watched on streaming. You have 11 million minutes watched. Like, I thought you said we're going to have 4.5 million viewers right now, and we've got 6. Or, you know, when they see that, they're like, these marketing companies are smart. Like, they see that and they compute it and they're like, holy crap. And then when we film an episode and they see their products in it, and they see the 900 photos from the photo shoot I send them, and they see all the 25 Instagram reels I send to them for clips, and the blooper reels, and all the stuff I send to them, they're like, holy crap, like this is insane. Like we get 20 grand worth of social media stuff from you. Like, are they coming after you?
I hope not.
I told them where you were. Sorry. I thought it'd make a good podcast
I'm being swatted. No.
Yeah. I thought it'd make an interesting podcast episode. So either way, they're like, I over deliver so much to the point that these brands, when they have to choose between me and an NFL team, they're going to choose me because I'm not breaking even with them. I'm giving them so much value. I work so hard for every single brand. In my opinion, when I get hired by a brand, I'm hired by a brand to work with them. My job is I'm now part of the marketing team. Like, I'm now part of their sales team. I'm now part of their AV, their audio video marketing team too. I'm in charge of making sure that they have good quality content that they can use, that's valuable to them internally and externally, and that I'm creating a budget bump for them that validates my expense to them every single year. So it's not even a question. And that's why I've never really lost a sponsor. I've had sponsors where we outgrow them, or they've sold their company, or we part ways because of just time. Like there's some brands I've worked with where I'm like, hey, I've worked with you for 5 years. Like, I just want to spice it up. I want to try something different. Like, I just don't want to be pigeonholed with some brands. Like Feel Free Kayaks I'll be with. I don't care if they tell me one day they can't pay me at all. I'll be with them until the day that I can't be with them. Like,
don't say that on the recording.
Yeah. like 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 we're family. Like
Yeah.
Feel Free they were the first company to ever do anything for me. They were the first company to ever believe in me. You know, the second one was Yak Gear, which the only reason why I left them is because they sold. Um, and it's like I will never give up integrity for a paycheck. And these brands see that. And it is so like anybody out there who wants to work with a sponsor, not a pro staff. Pro staff is a complete misconception. And you're literally being hired to be a salesman without getting paid, is all a
Right.
pro staffer is. But I will tell you this, if you're a pro staffer, because I've done this before too, and you separate yourself from the other pro staffers and don't work with the company that like don't work with Coca-Cola as a pro staffer because you won't make a difference to their bottom line as a pro staff. You won't. But with Jim Bob's Tackle, if they
Yeah.
want you to be a pro staffer for a discount and you like the product already, which is the first most important thing, like you're already a customer, you already like it, like you'll promote it for free because that's what you're going to do, promote it for free. Do that because if you make a difference in that company and you build up an impact where you're making a budget growth, now you can be like, hey, you made an extra 10 grand this year. How about you throw some gas in the tank a little bit here and throw me 3 grand a year? Like that's how you build your brand. That's how I built my brand. Is I started out not asking anybody for anything. I started out by proving that I can create value for you, and then them calling me or at least accepting my call and going, this makes sense. We got to pay you. Like we have, like you're making us money. Like you're delivering. Like you're not like the other 999 pro staffers that burned us and promised us the world. Like I'll mention your name on a podium. Like we
Right.
got burned by 999 of those. You're the one out of 1,000 that actually like you did something. And I hear that
Create
story
your value.
100%. But I hear that story all the time from brands where they're like, dude, for every 1,000 people we run into, we got one of you. But you got to get burned. It's a law of averages. You got to get burned by 1,000, unfortunately, just like relationships. Most of us have been cheated on and lied to and treated terribly, but you got to go through those to be able to respect and earn your keeper. You know what I mean? And it sucks. It's a terrible road. But when you're looking for sponsors, number one thing I tell people is whatever you're gonna be one day. Like I hate when people do that. I used to run pro stats for a couple of my sponsors back in the day. I hate those emails where like, if I make it big, I'll do this for you. Or if you give me this, eventually I'll do this for you. It's like, dude, just do that first. Like accomplish that first and prove to me that you can accomplish that and then come to me. Like my first sponsor call I ever made was to my good buddy Roland. He's the marketing director at Feel Free. He used to be the marketing director at ACK. And I called him up. I got his number because I used to work with Summit Sports out here and they were part of ACK. Got his number. I called him up. I said, I want to sponsor, I want to work with you guys. I want you guys to sponsor my show. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's where I'm going to be. And I built this huge, I had a business plan. I had all this stuff up and he was on. He was like, dude, this sounds great. Like, so let's go over your numbers. I'm like, cool, man, let's go. This is after like 45 minutes of talking. So we get to my numbers. Another thing I'll never forget. I love telling the story. He was speechless because I had 37 subscribers on YouTube and I had 7 videos. And when I got to that part, he was just dumbfounded. He goes, hold on, what? Like, hold on, but you were this guy, but you don't have anything to show for it yet. I'm like, no, but just wait. I'm like, in a year, I'm going to have this and this and this. Like, trust me. Like, you don't know me. Like, you hear this a lot. So at the end of our phone call, the way we ended it was, let's touch base in 12 months. I'm going to prove to you that not only am I going to do everything I told you, but I'm going to exceed it to the point that you're going to feel bad that you didn't take a chance on me in the beginning. And he's like, good, I want that. I'm like, cool. Me and him are so close. We talked for an hour on the phone today. We're so close. We're such good friends. He ended up switching to Feel Free when ACK sold, which is amazing, ironic and stuff. So we started working together. And he still to this day always says, he goes, man, like I remember where you were. And like, I can't believe you actually did it. He's like, you talk this huge game that everybody talks. And when I turned you down, you're like, bet I got you. Like I'll prove like this is my motivation. I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back one day and you're going to remember this. And we laugh at it because that's what we do. Like now we laugh at it all the time. And like the thing that separated me from every other, even my mentors that I had back then, the thing that separated me is that I wanted to deliver before I asked for anything. I wanted to prove who I was, what I could do. I wanted to prove what I had before I asked for anything. I'm not the kind of person that says, give me this and then I'll give you this. I'm the kind of person that says, I'll give you this. I'll give you that. I'll do this for you 1,000,000 times. And if you feel like giving me something back because I deserved it, awesome. If you don't, fine. I'm going to keep on giving what I want to give, what I feel comfortable giving. I have friends and people, acquaintances in my life that every time we go out somewhere, I pay for them. Anytime they need something, I give it to them. Anytime I see them, I surprise them with stuff. And they're always like, man, like, you like, what is going, like, they don't do anything back for me. I'm like, dude, you're my friend, or like, I respect you, or like, don't worry about it. I know that you could use the help, or
Right.
whatever it is. If they ever do anything for me in the future, cool. I don't really care. But the point is that if they do something in the future, I'll appreciate it so much, and they'll be so grateful that they could give it back. But either way, I'm still going to deliver. Either way, I'm
Right.
still going to do whatever I feel is right. And I'm going to do whatever I feel like will benefit that person the most. And if I get it in return, cool. But at the end of the day, that person will know that no matter what, I will follow through with what I'm saying. I will follow through with every promise that I had. I will deliver 100%. You can count on me. Call me 24 hours a day. I will always be dependable. I will never say no. I'll always be there. Or if I can't, I will be honest with you from the start. And
Right.
if you treat every brand, every sponsorship like they're your future wife, like your goal is to marry them for life and grow together and build a team, and you treat them like they're your best friend and you're going to do anything for them. If you're going to treat them like they're a person on the side of the road that needs help changing a tire, and you will stop and do anything to change that tire for them. If you treat every sponsor, every brand interaction like that, you will be so successful no matter what industry you're in. You won't have a choice. You will be like unimaginably successful. And
Plus, the other thing too is the question to ask is not tell them what you want. I always, what do you need? What is your pain point?
Mhm.
And then if there's any way that I can fill that, that's where I feel I'm value add.
Yeah, ask them where their marketing strategy lies. Like,
Mhm.
what's your 12-month marketing strategy? What's your 18-month? What's your and big companies have marketing departments that do this for a living. They'll get so
Mhm.
excited and jazzed up when you call them and you start talking about ROIs and CPMs, and like they get so like you can hear their excitement where they're like, finally we can talk like normal. Like, let's just get down to brass tacks here. Like, here, we need to do this. We need to expand here. Like, me and Amerigas Propane have these
Mhm.
crazy high level meetings constantly where they never have these kind of talks with other brands or partnerships or anything. Like, we get in these marketing brainstorming sessions sometimes where we're like, hey, we need to expand in this area. We don't know how. And I'm like, cool, let's do an episode about it. Like we're talking about doing a forklift episode right now, which I'm
Mhm.
super excited about. Like, let's go show off why
That should be
forklift.
really uplifting.
Nice.
Sorry.
So what's cool about it though, is an episode like that will have a lot of movement. Like, it'll go high,
Mhm.
low, you know? I think I have a hold on. Where's it?
Boom, boom. There you go.
There it is.
Awesome.
Uh anyway, so I have enough dad jokes where I have to have that programmed. So uh they were telling me how they want to expand and people's knowledge that people don't understand why forklifts are right on propane. It's because the emissions are so clean, you can run them inside of a building, and it's
Mhm.
so efficient, and it's clean on the engines, and it's like all these benefits. So we were talking about marketing strategy, and I was like, dude, let's just do a forklift episode. There's a forklift competition. I'm not even exaggerating. It's like the coolest thing to watch on YouTube. Like, the precision forklift stuff. It's actually really cool looking. So I'm like, let's look into that. Let's look into a forklift manufacturer and show how they're made. Let's look into a factory warehouse with 5,000 forklifts in one building and talk about how it doesn't affect the workers because there's no emissions. It's clean.
Right.
Like, let's talk about the stuff. So like, if you get into a company for the right reasons, you can become so integrated with their team that
Mhm.
they can't afford to get rid of you. Like, you become so important to them, and they're so important to you that you're just like, what can I do for you? Like, how can I use my platform to expand you? And how can you use your platform to expand my show? Like, what
Yeah.
can we do together? Because I want to marry you. Like, I want to get married. Like, I want to have this team, like, where we can just expand, and out of that family, we can just branch out and do more stuff. I call it spiderweb marketing, where you don't put all your effort into one leg, because if it breaks, you can't walk anymore. You
Right.
spread it out to 8 legs. So if something stops
Mhm.
working, you can still run. You might hobble a little bit, but you can run, you can walk, you can climb. So
Yep.
I have, I diversify with my brands, where I incorporate some of my sponsors in my children's books and my kids events, and to my public speaking stuff, and all the stuff that I do with my branding and public or not public stuff, co-branding stuff with products. And like, I try to integrate as much as I can, because if one thing stops working, or if my viewership goes down in the show, I want to make sure I'm providing value somewhere else. I want to make sure
Right.
that there's something else going on. And like when you're starting out in this industry, or if you've been in it for 50 years, if you want to work with a sponsor, you need to have a family of products and sponsors behind you that they can look at and say, oh, this guy's not going to not only not burn me, but this dude's a family man. Like this
Right.
dude's in it for long. Like you're not looking for a quick buck and then leaving. You're not waiting until I give you something and then you'll never hear from you again, which happens
All
literally.
the
I don't think
time.
you guys understand this, but 999,000 times every brand gives a free product away and never hears from them again. I had a golf company give me a putter. It's a brand new golf company. They're very small. They have no money, no budget, nothing. They gave me a putter to use in my golf episode, and I thought it was the coolest product. I was going to buy one anyway, and I started like looking at their social media, and I started liking and commenting on their stuff just because I thought it was cool. Like, it's such a cool product. They
Hmm.
ended up sending me one, and they said, "Hey, we'll send it to you free of charge, but please don't burn us. Like we've sent it out to like celebrities and stuff, and we get nothing. We never hear from them again." And I was like, "Yeah, you know what? I'm like, your putter's not expensive. Like I'll just buy it and I'll promote it for free. Like if I like it, I'll share it. Like I don't care. Like if I like it, cool." And they're like, "No, no, no, no. If you don't like it, just send it back. We'll send it to you." I spent a lot of money with my crew. I made a
Hmm.
video for them, a testimonial video. I did a bunch of posts. We did a professional photo shoot with them. I did like thousands of dollars worth of work for them for like $180 putter. And they were like, "Oh my God, like not only did you deliver, but like who are you? Like what the
Yeah.
heck?" Like, we've sent this to people that are like legit, like big known, well-known people, and they did nothing. Like we never heard from them again. Like we were
Right.
so scared to send you this because we've gotten burned. But you know what happens though? Let's say this golf company makes it big. Who is the first person they're going to trust to work with?
Yep.
Let's say they partner up with Callaway or like a big name golf company in the future. Who is the first person that they're going to trust and go, you know what, this guy delivers? Like he didn't ask for anything close to what he delivered. Like he
Right.
delivered this and we gave him this. Like, and that's how I try to operate my business is every interaction I have, not to be cheesy here, but every interaction I have, I try to give every single person way more than they expected.
Right.
Every person, because you'll never know. Like it's tattooed on my arm. Time is more powerful. No matter
Hmm.
how powerful you think you are, time is more powerful than you. Always. It'll always catch up to you. So you treat everybody like they're the CEO of the company that you want to talk to because they might be one day or they might know the person. Like you don't know how
Yeah.
many connections I've made through people that you would never, like my UPS driver. I'm always nice to him. I give him waters when it's hot out. I give him hot chocolate in the wintertime when I see him. I'm always talking fishing with the guy. And
Hmm.
one day he's like, "Hey man, I got this guy's cell phone number that you've always wanted to meet." And it's like, thank God I've been nice to this guy my whole life. Like,
I think you owe that guy a UPS episode.
what's funny is we've been talking about that, but getting through corporate's been really tough. But we've talked
Yeah, I
about
can
doing an
imagine.
episode about what they actually go through and how much work it actually goes through. We've actually talked about that because of that. Because I was like, you know what? Let's put a spotlight on what you do. Like it's actually kind of cool what you do. Like I want to go in a truck all day and like it'd be kind of fun. Like
Yeah.
you get to meet cool people. But either way, I'll let you wrap this up because we're going to
Yeah. I was about to say we're hitting the 2:30 mark. So first of all, I appreciate you coming on. It's been a blast talking. I'm glad we don't live closer because I feel like we would just have these chats a lot.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
So
Like I'll tell you what, any of my friends will tell you, it's dangerous to start a conversation about something I'm passionate about.
I got
I
scared when we started talking about marketing. I was like, oh no, that's
Yeah,
like
don't say it.
I don't want to stop talking about it. But
He said ROI.
Mhm. Yeah, I went to a swim meet this weekend with my this week with my son and the woman next to me. I don't even know how it came up, but she's in marketing, and we were just like, "Oh, I was taking pictures," and she's like, "Oh, I had a photo shoot for my company." And I was like, "Oh, marketing!" Boom! Next thing you know, I'm like shooting and talking to her. So,
Yeah, I
but
get scared when I meet people in the wild
yeah,
and they start talking about like videos or photography or hockey or music or anything that I'm into. And I have a lot of hobbies, man. Like I
that's the bad thing about ADHD people. There's so many things they do. They're like, "What?" There's,
Yeah, I can
and
literally you can put me in a room with 100 people that are the most different people from each other in the world, and I will find a way to make friends with all 100 of them. I'll have something in
Mhm.
common, and that's my children's book series, my show. Like that's what I love doing the most with everything. Is that's what I preach. Is like I don't care how different me and you can be,
Mhm.
we will find something in common. Like if you
Yeah.
allow it and you put your guard down and you're open and accepting to something different, and so am I, we can be friends and get along. We might not be best friends. We might not like stay friends forever. We might not want to do everything together, but we'll have something that we can relate on and understand and comprehend. I have members of my family that we didn't talk to each other during the election because of how different we are, and things got so heated and polarized. But at the same time, we're family. Like we have so much in common. Like we get along. We just couldn't talk to like we don't talk about certain things still. And
Mhm.
people forget that as divided and polarized as our society has become, we're all the same in one way or another, no matter what it is. Like we're all like the diversity of my guests this year have taught me that more than anything. Like I have found things in common with people that I would never assume would be friends.
Right.
And we're like, and I trust these people. Like we talk about personal things. I've taken them to dinner. Like I've met their families. Like it's like I've had people to my house even. Like it's just
Right.
crazy how like, you know, one of my best friends, Darius, I met because his kayak sank on the water one day and we just became friends and we're the most different people in the world. And it's
Yeah.
like we have so many different backgrounds. Like we never would have met in the wild normally. And we
Yep.
bonded over fishing. And now like we're like personal, close best friends. Like, you know, I was there picking out his wedding ring with him or his engagement ring with him not too long ago. Like you never know if you shut things out of your life, you never know what the possibilities are. Like, think about like your best friend and how you met them. Like, what random, crazy, weird thing led to you meeting that person? Like,
Mhm.
my girlfriend, who I'm with now, who I love more than anything on this planet, I met her in the most random, unpredictable way that wasn't planned. Like, I did a U turn one day to go see her sister that I haven't seen in a year, and I saw her car and I did a U turn randomly, and that's the day that I met her. And 6 years later, we're still together. Like, the most random ways that you meet people are
Yep.
because you did something somewhere down the line, you did something that was out of the norm or unpredictable or unexpected, and it led you down a path that you can
Mhm.
never change. And if you do that every day, you live your life that way where you talk to every stranger. You're not afraid to say hi to somebody, or if you see somebody change their tire, stop and help them. You never know what that interaction can lead to. Like I've met people at grocery stores where I pay for the groceries. I meet them 2 years later. They work for a company that I want to work with as a
Yeah.
sponsor, and they're the reason why I got the sponsorship. Like the weirdest things. Like you never, ever, ever, ever can underestimate the importance of the most random
Yep.
things in life.
Sometimes just a smile.
The power of making a change will
Yep.
never, ever, ever be predictable.
Awesome. Well,
So sorry about that.
no, you're good. No, like I said, we could continue. Like it wouldn't take but a little spark for us to go another 30 minutes to an
Did we
hour.
set a record for your longest podcast so far?
Yeah, blew it away. Hour and
Yes.
a half passed. Bam.
That
Awesome.
was my goal.
Awesome. Well, I do appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Please have me
Yeah,
on again, and I
yeah.
promise you, I'll even set a timer on my phone for
No,
every answer, and we'll keep it under control.
no, we're good. I just my wife was calling. She's like, I sent the police. No.
Yeah, that's what that was. Yeah,
Yeah.
my girlfriend made dinner probably like an hour ago. It smelled
Awesome.
amazing an hour ago.
All right. Well, I'm gonna put you in the holding pen real quick. I'm gonna say goodbye, and then I'll come back and we'll finish up.
All right, cool. Sounds good.
All
Thank
right.
you so much for having me on again, by the way. And please, everybody, go check out that third issue. All of them are all good, but the one that I was in, that article you wrote about me, was absolutely insane. So you guys can learn more about the show. Check out BassquatchHunter.com or Bassquatch.com or MikeMcKinstry.com. They all go to my website. Check out the show. It airs on Discovery Channel, Pursuit Channel, Discovery Plus, Animal Planet streaming, everywhere online. Just go to the website. You'll see all of it. Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. All right. All right. We did set a record, but it was awesome. I enjoyed every moment of it. Thank you guys for joining us, and go check out Snake River Lockers, which is soon going to be Snake River Manufacturing. They're going to be coming out with some awesome trailer mods that will allow you to take your base trailer and build it up as you go along, so it will grow as you go. So, um, thank you all for joining us, and I look forward to chatting with you next week.